Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 250th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening so far, we have Andy Patterson, Ozzy Smith, Donny Baseball, and Dave the Hater Lowback. Hopefully a few people will be jumping on as the evening progresses. Stay around, guys. Around 8:30, we're going to have a very special guest coming on, and also there's plenty going on next week. Quite a stacked week, actually. I was just having a look at BoxRec, so a lot of previews, reviews, Twitter questions, belly of the weeks, all the usual stuff over the next couple of hours or so. Let's start off in the Barclays Center in New York, where Deontay Wilder retained his WBC World Heavyweight title against Wilder-Stiverne. Stiverne, a lot of people are saying, is this one of the worst world title challenges, quote unquote, in recent history? And to be honest, I think it is. I think the WBC need to be absolutely ashamed of themselves. I know last week I was saying to Donny that I wanted to get this fight out of the way because I didn't want to see it. But how on earth this guy, this is not news to anybody, but how Stiverne got into this opportunity and put in a performance like that, came in out of shape, absolutely unwilling to throw any shots, didn't want to know, just collecting his paycheck. It was shameful, and I blame the WBC, Andy, for this whole shenanigans.
2 years without a fight, what do you expect? When the fight got made after the carry on the drug test with Ortiz and stuff, I says 0 point to see this fight, absolute zero. To be honest, what can we say other than the fact is that Wilder did a great job. But, you know, there's nothing else about it. Okay, the guy's out the ring for 2 years, fat, out of shape or whatever, but you know, if he's in that kind of condition, you expect Wilder to step up and take him out, and that's what he did. Great right hand for the first knockdown, real extension on it, turned the right hand over. So fair play to the guy. Okay, it was a wee bit kind of sloppy finish, but I thought the final two punches were really good. Done the job. It was absolute, as you say, mate. It was absolute disgrace about the Stiverne condition. But if they're going to be making Briswell next against this guy, then I'm done for that fight. You know, Big Dom will put up a fight here. He's got a strong enough chin. I think, well, what I'm surmising anyway, I think Hearn's going to try and push Joshua for the Fury fight. Now, they were saying there last night about Fury try to lose something like 7 stone or something like that between now and the new year. I really think, watch this, I think Hearn's going to try and make a move here and try and, you know, really entice Fury out, really get him kind of like, get the weight off, make him an offer, and get that fight on without a tune-up. I'm actually kind of, that's what I'm thinking it just now, so it'll give Wilder the chance to get the Brazil fight. People want to see Wilder against Joshua next. I would say so. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Fury coming back unless he's totally physically and mentally fit for either of the two fighters. So, yeah, that's what I want to see. Joshua Wilder next. But we learned nothing off that last night. And I suppose the only thing we could learn off that, actually, that Wilder's right hand held up, I suppose, off you know, the knockdown with the first right hand. That's all I could really kind of basically say on it. WBC need to get a fucking grip of what they're doing, especially in that heavyweight division. It's an absolute shambles at the minute. So we need to start getting these kind of big name fighters together. Wilder, Joshua next. No more fucking about.
No more fucking about, says Andy. Our special guest has joined us on the line already, so let's go to him right now. Middleweight contender John Ryder. John, how you sounding? You might have to unmute yourself there, John. John's just searching for the mute button there. The curse of the mute button, it often does happen on this show, unfortunately. While he searches for that, we'll just bring Donny in. Donny, I was mentioning there about the shit show regarding the heavyweight division here, and as for Wilder-Stiverne, Benny Cram jumped in with a question. He says, I personally think that the performance of Wilder-Stiverne was worse than the Charles Martin effort. What do you guys think? Which one was more embarrassing?
Well, I'm going to have to say this one, and a simple reason why is because I actually believe that he had a legitimate health condition the first time they fought. You know, I looked up that condition. It was now I don't have it in front of me, but basically it can actually come from, you know, athletes doing a lot of heavy resistance training, you know, a lot of weights, and you know, and so basically, I believe that he didn't have 100% of himself in the ring that night the first time that they met, and so one would think after he recovered from that, and now here he is, he's being offered this big chance again. He would have came in there, even if he was out of shape, but at least just came in there and said, you know what, maybe I have about 3 rounds in the tank, but I'm just going to go for this because I want to show that there wasn't 100% of me in that ring last time. But he didn't come in like that, and he got blasted out in and around. Also, though, Wilder is a better fighter now, I think. So there is that, but there certainly wasn't any sense of urgency, and it was extremely disappointing. But I want to yield to our special guest who is joining us for this Sester Centennial episode of the Nuthouse. If he, hello.
It's okay, Johnny. We seem to have John on. John, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here now. You've got me?
Yeah, we got you. Brilliant. We were just talking there about the fight last night, actually. I don't know if you have any opinions on Deontay Wilder against Wilder-Stiverne. Did you manage to catch it?
Well, I didn't actually tune in live, but I've seen the highlights. And you know, I think he needed to have a big performance like that, just to silence a few critics and really just get rid of Stiverne and just open the door for some big fights. And just, I think so far he's been a bit of a joke champion, and he's not really. The WBC have been a bit lenient on him. I think now he's with a big win like that, a big explosive win, he's set himself up for some big fights for 2018.
And we obviously saw AJ last week knocking out Carlos Takam. Do you think a fight between Wilder and AJ is on the cards for next year? How would you see that one going?
Do you know what? It's a tough fight. They can both bang, and they're both showing that they take a shot. So it'd be interesting. But I think they'll both have a fight in between. I don't know who against who, but I think there'll be a fight, and it'll probably be like a summer showdown, probably at Wembley again.
John, whenever we have you a bit closer to the computer, a bit closer to the mic, that's perfect. We can hear you then.
Okay.
Yeah, what I was going to say as well, just looking at your own career, obviously now, which we've brought you on to talk about, big win over Patrick Nielsen there recently by knockout. Do you want to talk us through it, how you thought it went? He couldn't seem to take your power, especially the big right hook.
Do you know what? Yeah, it got a lot of credibility from it as a big win. But I mean, I looked at it and you look at his condition when he got at the ring. He looked grey in his body, and I just think it's just a sign of. I think the years of his bad living have just caught up with him, and I think it was a good win. But I believe that he's just not lived like an athlete for the last couple of years, and I think he's somewhat of a superstar in Denmark. I think it's got the better of him.
And obviously, hopefully, a win is going to propel you maybe into title shots now. What are you looking for? What are you aiming for? Maybe even go on the WBA route or something like that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, that Azuj fight, I mean, Nisei Salin said to me about it straight after the fight, and I thought he was joking, but I said, yeah, definitely. I said, I'll come to Germany for it. But I know he's got the fight with Egbo for December, but I mean, need to see what the WBA rankings come up with, because there's a bit wild this month, but so I think some amendments need to be made. But yeah, hopefully in the new year I could get that fight.
You're not even ranked in it, are you?
No, Patrick Nielsen's still first, and I can't believe it.
Unbelievable, mate.
That's the WBA for you, though, isn't it? Sometimes
they've got somebody at cruiserweight, I think, ranked twice in the top 15.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's the Russian guy, isn't it? Yeah, because you've fought for a WBA international title before. That was against Jack Arnfield. Very close fight on the cards anyway. A lot of people seem to think that you might have done enough. I'm just looking 115, 114. Mr. Pineda had it 118, 110, and Terry O'Connor by 3 points. How, in your own words, John, how did you think that Arnfield fight went down?
Do you know what? That was my last fight at middleweight, and I'd struggled so much to make that weight that at the time I didn't really care how it went down. Do you know what I mean? I was relieved that it was over with, and to be honest, when the title was gone, I didn't really care. It was I just wanted to move forward and step up in weight. But I mean, where I didn't care, it didn't really bother me. But a lot of people said, like, no, you should feel a bit hard done by it. That you had that fight, and I didn't really look too much into it. But the one that bothered me more was the Fielding fight, where I actually felt like I had it, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah, tell us about the Fielding fight as well. He's obviously going on to fight, let me think, Skoglund, I think he's got a fight with. That was for the vacant British super middleweight title. Was that another contentious decision in your eyes? Yeah,
I feel so. I mean, it's subjective in how you score a fight, but I'm not the kind of person who puts his arms up at the end of a fight and doesn't think he's won. I felt in my heart of hearts that I'd won that fight and won it well.
I was thinking back, actually, when we knew we were having you on. The first time you came to my attention was back in 2012 on a Sky show against a guy from over here, Eamon O'Kane, from Dungiven. You boxed really well that night. Eamon was a strong, physically fit, come-forward fighter who had to take a lot of weight off as well, granted. But you managed to just time him and put your shots together really lovely that night.
Yeah, no, you know what? It was was a good fight, and it was. I think he'd come in at 3 weeks' notice, but it was one of them ones where he'd been calling the fight out for like about a year at the time. He'd been calling out me or Daniel Cadman at the time, and it just so happened that he stepped in to fight, and he got made to a British title eliminator. But prior to that fight, I'd been sparring one of the Irish and national lads, Woody McLaughlin.
Yep.
So he was good, and he was fit and strong. But you know, I see that at that time a lot of the Irish team had the same style where they'd come forward and loading up big shots. And do you know what, that spar Woody McLaughlin, I think, just helped me out. Like, it's great for me because I knew how aiming came was going to come out, and you'd seen him time and time again. He'd come out and he'd just be loading up with every shot. And I thought down the stretch he's going to tire, and it worked out that he did.
And just before I open it up to the panel and ask any of the other guys if they have any questions for you, just like to get your opinion on the British middleweight title fight between you and Billy Joe Saunders. You went across there to Box Nation to fight Billy, and it was a really narrow fight on the scorecards, and you really put your name out there to a broader audience as well. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, getting credibility from a loss is I got a lot of credibility from it. One of the things that it was on a Box Nation card. It was a good fight, a close fight, and it's just subjective again. How you score a fight is one of them things. But you know what? There's no thing to that. Billy Joe's gone on. He's won every title there is to win. So he's a world class fighter. He's a world champion, and he's going on to prove it.
Excellent stuff. Any of the other guys want to ask John any questions? Andy, have you got anything for him?
John, just wondering, mate, is your team going to be kind of pushing for the Zoiga fight next, or are you going to be looking for a tune-up beforehand?
No, hopefully they'll push for the Zoiga fight, but just got to see what comes really and see how high I get ranked with the WBA once they finally pull their finger out.
What's your thoughts on the World Boxing Super Series just now, the Super Middleweight? You're really looking forward to Groves Eubank?
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be a cracking fight, and just the old setup in the arenas looks great. I mean, the old, even just the lights around the ring, them little specs on the show just look fantastic.
But you favouring Groves?
No, I'm actually favouring Eubank. Funny enough, I don't know. I feel that. I don't know. I just feel Eubank's the man of the moment, and I think it'll be a great fight. I think it could be close, but I just feel that Eubank's younger and fresher.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Andy. Any of the guys have any questions? Ozzy, do you have anything you want to jump in with?
I'm trying to think. I speak to John quite a bit. Do you think you'll get out again this year, John, or have you heard anything? I mean, is there any chance you could be on the De Gale Selby card at the Copper Box, or do you think that's it?
No, I think for this year, I think that's it now, mate. I think it's just what's the De Gale Selby? That's probably 5 weeks away now. I think.
Yeah.
I've been ticking over, but I'd like a bit, especially in the position I'm in now, where I've had that big win. I'd like a proper camp for a fight, and I don't want to be stepping down to 6 or 8 rounders. I want being meaningful fights from now on.
And how does it work for you? Now, obviously, the contract with Matchroom ended. So, are you happy to? Will you go anywhere, any promoter, any network, as long as it's a meaningful fight for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, although I went back to the Matchroom for the Fielding fight, but I was on the ITV card against Edges. Again on the ITV for the Nielsen fight. So yeah, I'm happy to just go freelance and get about where I can.
Yeah, I was going to ask you on that actually, John. You worked with Eddie for quite a long time. What's he like to work with? What have you got any beef with Matchroom or anything like that, or is everything that's still okay? Obviously, you've fought with them since.
Yeah, no, they're all good. I mean, I've got no problems with Barry or Eddie or anyone in the office. I still talk to all the boys. I still pop in there with the other lads from the gym, and we go in there and have a laugh. So no, there's no bad blood. I wouldn't write off working with them again.
Excellent stuff. Any guys got anything to add before we let John go?
Yeah, I have just two.
Go on.
One would be who do you favor in the Billy Joe Saunders Lemieux fight?
No, it's a good question. It's a boxer against a brawler, and we've seen time and time again in Billy Joe in them situations, and he's always come out on top, and he always seems to find a way to get the win. So I'd always favour Billy Joe, but Lemieux's got great power. It will be interesting, but I'm going to go for a Billy Joe win.
And the other thing is that I obviously get the obvious attraction of not being with a promoter, because you're free to sort of make your own deals and no one's taking a piece of your earnings. At the same time, though, do you fear that it might be difficult for you to get the big fights without being connected to somebody with a lot of influence in boxing?
No, I don't think so. I think I've got a good management team around me with good people, and I believe that the fights can come.
Okay, Donna?
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. John, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate you giving your time, and good luck with whatever happens. Hopefully you'll get a big shot next year sometime.
Yeah, fingers crossed, thank you. Hopefully.
What's your Twitter, John, if anyone wants to follow you?
It's @_John_Ryder.
Excellent stuff. And one of our contributors as well who didn't manage to make it on tonight, Rob Kelly, he's from Wexford. He's some relation of yours, apparently. I think he said that your granddad Tommy, I think it is, and his dad are relation, so he wanted me to just drop that into you.
Oh, nice one. I'll have to look into that one. I didn't know that.
Yeah, big Rob Kelly. He's on Twitter as well, so we'll give him a shout.
I'll have a look.
Excellent. Thanks very much, John. All the best.
Mate. Thanks for
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
All the best, mate. Cheers.
Bye.
And you might know, as soon as John dropped off there, the sound control pad all of a sudden appeared. So which I was trying to use all the way through the interview, but that's the way it goes on radio sometimes. We shall put that to one side and move back to the Deontay Wilder card. Donnie, I know you want to come flying straight in. You were having your 2 pence worth. Did you finish what you were saying?
No, I was just saying that what I really liked from Wilder more than anything, I know he didn't have a guy with a lot of with very much coming back at him, but Wilder didn't really know that yet, because even though Stiverne came in, fat, that doesn't mean he can't punch. Surely he can, and Wilder was. I just liked. I know it was only a round's worth of work, but his movement and his jab just seemed to be sharper than ever. That jab was really firing out of there, and you could just hear the pop of it through the sound on the television, and it seemed like his jab is very much improved. And I think in a potential AJ fight, if he's throwing, I think in the first minute alone, Showtime said he threw about 16 jabs, and these weren't just pawing jabs. These were real hard jabs, and I noticed that improvement in his game. He's always had a decent jab, but it looked better. It looked better last night. And his finishing was wild a little bit, but he always he's always kind of a wild finisher. But if you know that you've got a guy hurt and you're not afraid of it, I guess you kind of have the permission to be wild. And wild though he may have been, a lot of those shots were landing. So they may have been thrown from some very strange angles that may have been looked to be a bit defensively irresponsible, but he ultimately got the job done, and he was finding the holes between the guard around. He was snaking the shots around the side, and he definitely made a statement. That's going to send the shockwaves across the Atlantic, and people in the UK are going to clamor even more so now to see that fight. Although maybe some real hardcore AJ enthusiasts may not clamor to see it right away because they may fear what might happen.
Well, I like your nominative determinism there, Donnie. Wild by name, wild by nature. And I think that could be to his detriment, though, because of his hand problems. Because you see at the end, that right hand that he popped off Stiverne's head, it really looked awkward, I thought, Donnie, like it was right at the top of the knuckles. It did not look comfortable. No wonder he has bad hands.
Yeah. You could definitely see that. When he sees a guy hurt, he just I don't know. Yeah, just
he's all in. Just cashes in, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He doesn't really care. Yeah, he goes crazy. Might have to be a little bit more restrained in his finishing. I think the ideal finisher, of course, to emulate is like a Sugar Ray Leonard, who always seemed to be under control, even when he was barraging with punches. And like Wilder seems to be the complete opposite of that, right? Who just completely loses control once he knows he has a guy hurt.
Yeah, hey to Dave. Wilder was praising his own footwork at the end of the fight in the interview. I'm not quite convinced by it myself, to be honest with you. I think a lot of the problem was with Stiverne. It was just an intimidation factor. He just seemed completely intimidated by Wilder's confidence, by his power, he really seemed angry, Wilder. He was like, you're not doing anything in this fight. I'm going to push you onto the back foot. I'm going to hit you and I'm going to hurt you. And I think he mentally just wilted Stiverne.
Yeah, I don't even know if he was there to begin with, or if he's been there since the first fight. Like what has he done? His last fight was against Rossi, was it? Long time ago when he didn't even win convincingly. And before that, he lost every round to Wilder. So, I mean, Stiverne, I mean, this does not mean much to me. I'm glad he took him out right in the first round and in pretty brutal fashion. But the final knockdown, he was like limboing. And then he just like he like woke up for a second and he's like, oh, I better get up. And then just fell face first. It was sort of like a Tyson Berbick situation where he just like falling all over the place. But good stoppage. Terrible fight, and we can blame the WBC for that. It's an absolute joke that this was made. I don't know how much Don King had to pay him. Maybe he has pictures of the Suleiman family like blowing each other. I don't know.
He's finished now.
Yeah, that was his last chance. Well, I'm not going to miss Don King, although some of us may miss his cards. But it's been a long, long time since he's done anything good for the sport. So Wilder, let's get on with it. Let's keep going. I know it's not his fault that all these fights keep falling through. It sucks, and he's a likable guy. I mean, he's a likable fighter. He's certainly not the best in the world. I don't think he'll ever be elite, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him beat Joshua. He's just unpredictable. He's wild, and he comes in there. I think his hands are just about as wild as they've ever been. I don't really necessarily see improvement there. I would hope that it would work in his favor against Joshua because it's just so bizarre the way he fights. Kind of clubbing and awkward and all over the place. I don't know what he was talking about his improved footwork for. If anything, his footwork was improved in the first fight, and ever since then we never really see him be able to box as well as he did against Stiverne that night. But he got the job done, and let's move on.
Dave, do you think that this could be the last meaningful contribution to the boxing world that we might have seen from Don King, and the next time we hear from Mr. King it might be that he's sort of no longer with us?
If you call it meaningful. I don't really call it meaningful. I think the last meaningful Don King fighter was... Well, I guess Stiverne did hold the belt for a little while, didn't he? But that doesn't necessarily make it meaningful. I mean, Charles Martin held the belt too. I mean, the last Don King fighter that will be remembered is Tyson.
Well, what about, wasn't Mayorga with him?
Yeah,
I think he was. Yeah. I remember when he fought. Who was it? He fought somebody. Oh, he fought Full Forest, and he stood there and kept telling him to hit him. And he said, "Mr. King tells me he doesn't want to see that anymore."
Didn't he have something to do with Saddam Ali for a while? Not that it's meaningful. I'm just top of my head.
Can't even remember that one.
Or just out also.
Yeah, but obviously it had value for a while, didn't it? That was probably the last meaningful kind of like.
Amir Imam. Did he have Amir Imam?
He had. I'm sure he had value for a while.
I know that he had. I remember in one of the fights, one of his heavyweights fighting in Germany, because his son Carl King was having a fight at ringside with somebody. I think that was Lamont Brewster against Luan Krasniqi, actually. I don't remember him having value, but I'm not saying it's not true.
Because remember he ended up making value of against Holyfield, and Holyfield should have got the nod in the cards, eh? Because let me get this right. I think did Stiverne win a vacant title against somebody? Was it Big Nipple?
Yeah, I think it was Areola, wasn't it?
Aye.
He busted his nose right open.
Might be a story. I can't.
Or was that the first one? I don't know. We're going down a black hole, and black hole of bullshit here, aren't we?
Maybe you see me, but you know, fucking heavyweight division shite.
Ozzy, one thing I did like about Wilder is his post-fight performance. No beating around the bush. He came straight out. No talk to my manager, staying humble or any of this bullshit. I said, I want to fight Joshua. And Tommy Roosh has reminded me on Twitter of something that made me laugh at the time. What did he call him? A-juice or something? No, A-juicer.
Yeah,
he did.
He also called Dillian White a peasant as well. So
I like that. So did he actually called the AJ A-juice?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Something like that, yeah.
I pissed off a bunch of UK fans, a bunch of Matchroom fans. I was reading the timeline and said, "How dare he do that? He has no grounds to say that."
Hey, juice, that's fucking excellent.
I think it's good though. I think it's good that he comes out with things like that. It always helps build any sort of fight, whether it means people like him or dislike him. But I think the heavyweight division needed that from Deontay Wilder last night. He went in, blasted out just a sorry looking Bermain Stiverne, Just I don't understand these heavyweights that they get 12-week camps, and then he just comes in like a fat mess again. Just reminded me of Ian Lewis in the shape he came in 3 weeks ago. It's bizarre. It wouldn't surprise me if he hung his gloves up again. Wilder, really enjoyed the first knockdown. That straight right was an excellent shot, and I think it would have put to bed quite a few heavyweights as well. Brilliant that he has no interest in the Dillian White fight unless it's for like $8 million, because it'd be free money that. And I think we all want to see one fight, and that's him against Joshua. It probably won't be next. I think they were talking up the Brazil fight next for Wilder, so that's not bad. But no, I think we all want to see the big one next summer in the UK.
Certainly do. I was just thinking of some of the worst heavyweight title fights of recent years. Obviously, Charles Martin's non-effort handing over the belt against Anthony Joshua comes to mind. Also, I remember Herbie Hyde made a WBO title defense against a guy called Damon Reed, and he was absolutely dog dirt as well. I suppose if you're going down the WBO route, you could have a couple of Joseph Parkers, especially that last guy he fought, wasn't it, his Romanian sparring partner they'd plucked from the top 15. So there's been a pretty few poor ones over the recent years with the titles being splintered. Moving on to the undercard, Andy, I'm just looking at Sean Porter against Adrian Granados. No real interest in Porter, to be honest with you. You know, he's a fit guy, he gives his all, but his style, I just find it very difficult to enjoy any of his fights. Couldn't get the Dominic Breazeale against Eric Molina fight, as we were talking with Ozzy off the air. That was the one I probably most wanted to see out of them all. And then this Sergei Lipinets against Akihiro Kondo. I remember actually about a year ago, Andy, someone mentioning Lipinets to me, saying how talented he was, and I watched his fight with Lenny Zapavinia, the Australian. I thought, yeah, I mean, he looks okay. He's not brilliant. And then Steve Kim was going on about him on the 3 knockdown rule, saying how talented he was. But, 12-0, he's jumped straight into the IBF lightweight title here. And Kondo looked a bit like Hassan Sharifi. He was decent. But Lipinets, I mean, are we getting too excited by him?
Maybe. But I know what you're talking about. I thought early in the fight he was quite, he was switching up a wee bit, especially working the body. But I'm sure there was a bit of a head knock in there somewhere, and it caused the cut. And I think it must have affected him. It might even concussed him, because the fight seemed to have changed somewhat, and you can see Kondo was really getting confidence built up on top of that. At the end of the day, 13th pro fight, but he's 28-year-old. I don't know. I think they will push him hard. No hard, sorry, but they will push him. He didn't really have an extensive amateur background, so I don't know. Maybe he's plateaued a wee bit. Maybe this is him at his peak. I don't know, but we need to see more of him.
Anything for Porter? Any love for Porter, Andy?
Porter's Porter, mate. It's just like that film, isn't he? He's a hard, fucking tough bastard. He's got that NFL kind of style about him. He just basically runs at the guy, tries to tackle him and get him up against the ropes and just try and just wail away. It's effective sometimes. It was fantastic for the Brunner fight. I will thank him for that. But I know what you mean. He is at times he can be decent to watch, but other times he can just be absolute brutal. And because that fight went 12 rounds, it got a wee bit kind of tedious in the end. So I think I even passed out for a bit. That's the reason why I say to you about the Brazil fight, was that fight no showing, because I actually passed out during the Porter fight and woke up just before the Wilder fight. So that tells you where I was at with that one.
Something happened in the 10th, 11th round with Porter. I don't know if he broke his hand, pulled a muscle, was just gassed, or took a sneaky shot in there from Granados that hurt him. But he slowed down. He looked hurt and he looked tired. I don't know what the problem was.
Yeah, I think there was some kind of injury, Dave. Seeing as none of us have managed to see the Dominic Breazeale Eric Molina fight, I just want to get your 2 pence worth, Dave, on a possible Breazeale Wilder fight next. I've actually warmed to Breazeale a bit lately. He's a big old lump. He looks like he's punching underwater, but he can take a shot. He's not afraid to have a go, and he can punch a little bit. Is he the perfect preparation for Deontay Wilder going into the bigger fights?
I mean, I guess it's better than it's better than a rematch with one of the other names Wilder's fought. I would rather see Wilder with maybe Pulev, maybe Takam as well. I think that'd be interesting. Takam might beat him, of course. Parker, yeah, I'd rather see that. Maybe even Huey Fury. Yeah, I'd rather see the bigger fights, but Breazeale, I mean, I'm not going to kick up too much fuss over it. It's better than nothing. And I do like Breazeale. Ever since who was it, Amir Munster, ever since he fought him, was getting his ass kicked early on. And Munster's a huge puncher. He was down, he was getting clobbered, and he kept getting up, and he kept trying, he kept coming forward. I mean, I like the kid's heart. He's crude and very workmanlike, but he got it done, and I like the guy. He's fun to watch. The AJ performance was not there. He did land a few body shots, but I thought he should have probably been more aggressive in that fight in terms of his punch output, not just coming forward into the fists.
Donnie, just going down to the lower weights for you as well. A bit of Sean Porter love if you wish, but just starting off with this Lipinets. Nice jab, does things pretty well, but you're not getting too excited about him like us?
Actually, I missed that fight. I can tell you about Porter, and then I actually have to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, I mean, Porter does what Porter does. He does get up in your face, and I think for a lot of guys, he's a very difficult style to tangle with. But last night he faced somebody who clearly was a shade below him, and he beat him certainly more convincingly than Broner did, and that just shows you that, of course, there's the Keith Thurman level, there's the Porter level, and then there's the Granados and Broner level. So I think a rematch with Thurman would be in order, but I know that everybody wants to see Thurman versus Errol Spence first, but Thurman's not ready for that because he's having surgery. So it's going to be, I think, unfortunately, Porter's going to have to wait for that fight. And that was a very close fight, by the way. I mean, I had Thurman winning, but I think I only had it 115, 113. So yeah, he'll continue to build himself back up, and hopefully he can get himself in position maybe to challenge the winner of Thurman and Spence.
Excellent stuff. Thanks for coming on, Donnie. Stay safe out there.
All right. Thanks so much. You too, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Donnie Baseball there, everybody. Just flitting through the non-televised portion of the undercard. Sean Monaghan's up to cruiserweight now, got himself a win. Lenroy Thomas as well, hopefully a future Dave Allen opponent, we expect. Beat 12-2 Ed Fountain. Scores of 76-75 twice and 77-74. Quite a close one for old Lenroy. Ozzy, putting that to one side, tell me about Lipinets and Porter if you wish. A bit of Brazil and Molina as well. You're a fan of Big Dominic after that Ogono win as well?
Yeah, I didn't catch the Lipinets fight, but I think the belts will get moved around relatively. I think they're all going to be open now. People will be queuing up. Obviously, there's no Terence Crawford there. Big Brazil, yeah, comes to fight. He's, like you say, he's a big lump. He's got a bit of power. I think he ended the myth of that Ugonu, who was obviously this talked up big meathead, but that was an entertaining fight. And then he put away Eric Molina, which obviously quite a few of us know him from the Anthony Joshua bout, where he was a shambolic effort. But no, he comes to win. I don't mind seeing him next in with Wilder. You know what you're going to get from him. He's been in a bigger fight, so he's not going to freeze. He's not going to look at, like Stiverne. He said he looked at him and thought, well, he's not going to hurt me. He's tall, he's powerful, and it's something it could be exciting. Just hope it happens early next year, and it's not like May, June, and then we're potentially pushing the Joshua fight into September, October, November time. But no, it was a solid card. That, I mean, there was a bit of criticism for the Wilder-Stiverne fight, but what people need to remember is if that card was in the UK, that would be pay-per-view, and that was just on Showtime last night. So I think you've got to applaud that. It was obviously free to air, something that you want to see, and if they can do the cards over there like that, which those purses wouldn't have been small for some of those fights, then why can't it be replicated over here?
Yep, good point. Before we go on to the Monte Carlo card with a bit of Chisora, a bit of McDonald, all those guys on.
Do we have to really?
I'm afraid we do, Andy. We have to, it's like cathartic, isn't it? It's trying to get it out of our system. We have to flush it through.
Okay. Rather just go to the toilet and flush it out.
Well, before we do, I've got a few more a bit of heavyweight discussion because I've had a few heavyweight questions in. I'll put this one out there first of all from Richard Allen. We were talking during the week of a possible World Boxing Super Series at heavyweight. Richard has said, do you think that Pulev's pullout and the World Boxing Super Series allegedly going towards the heavyweight division are linked? If they can tie up 8 fighters that aren't Joshua or Wilder and pay them more than they'd receive for fighting AJ, then they can get an enormous cash out for the victor of it. Which 8 fighters would you have ideally in the Boxing Super Series at heavyweight, Andy, if you could? If everybody entered, theoretically, which I don't think is completely out the realms of possibility.
So we're going to take all the champions, so we're going to take Joshua in the equation here.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So you would have AJ, Wilder, Parker. I'll leave Tyson out the equation now because we know he's no fit, right? So we'll say Povetkin, Ortiz.
Yep.
I'll go for Big Brazil.
Yeah, if you had Ortiz against Povetkin, Andy, that would be a bit of needle in that one.
Yeah. And I'm thinking along the lines of like some maybe Pulev or Takam, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to leave White out of the equation actually, so he can be like so this one of the stand-ins.
Good call. And who do you think would come out on top of this? If I'm assuming Wilder would be the seed, Parker, Joshua.
Well, I'll probably go with Joshua because I do say that he would, because Wilder's 2 straight, comes forward in straight lines and he goes back in straight lines. I think Joshua would probably chin him. Parker's not got the power, so I would. Saying that, if we're going to take Ortiz into it as well, again, you just don't know how he's going to fare over a 12-round fight, especially it does get tough and heavy sometimes, but you've got to go. I think you would need to make AJ favourite anyway. That's what I'll say at the minute. I wouldn't want to go balls deep into saying he's going to win it, but I think there's a few factors in there that it means he could actually lose it as well, but I need to say he's going to be open as favourite.
Yeah. Just same to you, Ozzy, as well. Ross Dalziel was asking a question about weight classes for the World Boxing Super Series. Assuming it is heavyweight, do you think it can be made, or is the money too great for the big guys, the likes of the Wilders and the Joshuas, to get them in? Don't forget Richard Schaefer. He can gather up, broom up a bit of money himself if need be.
I'm not too sure. The Joshua one's a sticking point because what was he getting? What did he get for the Takam fight? Was it $9 million or pounds or something like that?
I heard £9 million, but I really don't know if that's true or not.
Insane, man! Fuck's sake!
How can a tournament of that replicate that sort of money? That would be the only sticking point for me. I think Wilder would go into it because I think he'd actually get bigger purses in from the Super Series than he would than what he's getting now. So I don't think that would be a sticking point. And obviously, all your other heavyweights like Parker, etc., and your other like fringe contenders, I think they would happily accept it.
I think, mate, if you had the heavyweight tournament, I actually think you would have more money coming in via the TV revenue because you saw the problems we had with cruiserweights and super middleweights trying to get TV. America didn't. Dave or Donny, did you ever even get American TV for these fights earlier? Dave?
For last night's fight?
No, for the Super Series. Have you got a TV station for that earlier?
I don't think so. I
don't think it is, Dave. Don't think it is it?
ITV got announced literally like 2 hours before the Usyk Hook fight. So I think if you're going to have the heavyweights, especially with the names and that, I think you would Sky would be interested, HBO, Showtime. I think you would get a lot more money in the pot actually. But again, I take your point though. I don't know how much, $9 million for one fight is going to be a bit of a stretch. Like,
it's complicated in America because we have so many damn networks. You guys, you're usually going to have them on like one of 3, right? You got Sky, the other one, ITV, Box. Oh, so you got tons of networks too.
BT stroke Box Nation as well.
Yeah. It's just a pain in the ass. I mean, it's easier to just find them online where someone's going to post a stream for it. It's just easier because then you go to one place or one of a few places where you can reliably find a stream and get a link to it. It's just easier than searching through the networks to find it. And most likely not finding it anyway, because no one in America wants to broadcast boxing.
Hater, we can't obviously talk about the heavyweight division without throwing Tyson Fury's name in. I had a question from Richard Swig, which came in, Dave. He says, I try and stay away from psychoanalyzing Tyson Fury, as I'd like to retain my sanity. But is he the kind of person who needs to feel like he's always the underdog in order to perform? His win over Vlad was one of the best performances by anyone in the last few years and cemented him as the top man. But he seems like the type who would still prefer to be regarded as the gifted fuck-up. I think there's a lot of truth in that, actually.
I think he's absolutely a gifted fuck-up. I still have hope for him. I mean, this week has been, at least he's sort of back in the public eye. He's back in the sport, not necessarily in the ring, but he's talking about it, and people are calling him out and treating him like he's a relevant figure again. Both, I mean, even Joshua called him out, which I like from Joshua. I mean, he wants to beat the man. I don't know if Joshua is doing it because he thinks it's an easy win, or because he thinks it's big money. Or just because he really believes that he wants to have the lineal heavyweight title, which would be cool. I don't know about that. I feel feeling he needs to be the underdog to perform well, though. I guess you could say, because he was a big favorite against Steve Cunningham, and things almost went very badly for him there, and he lost several rounds and got dropped. But then he was favored in the Chisora rematch, surely, and he had no problem at all there. That was probably one of his best performances. Favored against Hammer, looked good there. I wouldn't say necessarily that he needs to be the underdog to perform at his best. I think he might need chaos in his life, like people said Pacquiao needed. And when Pacquiao lost some of that chaos, I don't think we ever saw him get a stoppage after that. It was in around 2009, and then he like kind of became the born again Christian, being all nice to his opponents. I mean, if you can call what he does, letting them finish the fight nice. I think Tyson might be somewhat similar in that sense. Though he hasn't really appeared to be that particularly mean in the ring, except against Cunningham. That was the only time I really saw him go full goon and just go in there and just like slug it out to win. Against Vlad, he boxed. Against Chisora, he boxed. Against Hammer, he boxed, and he was very careful. I think he's just a really smart guy with certain emotional problems, and it's a crime we're not seeing him in the ring more, because I think he could potentially be the best heavyweight of this era.
I think he would thrive, like you say, Dave, in the chaos. You know, he did before the Klitschko fight. They're having all the nonsense with the ring and all the fuss and the bottles of water. And, you know, he's going to be out for 2 years instead of just defending his titles. He's disappeared. He's going to come back in a state of chaos, a state of flux in the heavyweight division. I think he thrives in that environment, like you say. Yeah,
I mean, I would still pick him to win against Joshua, even if he's fat right now. It looked like he was taking up 2 seats ringside yesterday for the... I guess he was at the McDonald card, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think was I right in saying that at the start of the show that Sky said it was 7 stone he needs to lose?
Wouldn't be surprised, Andy.
Yeah, that's correct.
Bloody hell! I mean, that's what he's going to be doing for the next 6 to 8 weeks, of just losing weight, just trying to get fit again, just so he can. I seen him out doing a jog and that he was like breathing out his arse. So he's going to need to. I think that's what he said. He's going to be working over Christmas, New Year, and that. But fuck's sake, that's a shitload of weight. Get him back into fighting shape and stuff. You know, you'll be looking at a tune-up fight round about the summertime.
Yeah, but can he get that consistency together, Andy? Because we keep hearing he's training, we hear he's running. He was in Belfast about a month ago doing the pads. People saw him, and he seems to come back, and then he doesn't get any slimmer. He seems to get fatter. It's like he's trolling everybody.
Well, he's good at that, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, he really didn't get the go ahead, I suppose, until was it last week when he got his license back? I mean, yeah. If he's not got his license, what's the point of him? You know, unless he's going to apply elsewhere to get it.
That could be the kickstart that he needed then.
Exactly, and then AJ have that, that poor performance, show his limitations again. As you say, the division's in chaos. He's friendly with Parker and that, so they've been partying together and stuff. So. He seems to be quite tight with likes of Parker and Wilder's got a lot of time for Fury as well. You ever notice that they two never seem to kind of go off each other, apart from that one time in the ring when Fury was champion. But other than that, they seem to have a kind of grudge and respect, Parker and Wilder, for Big Fury and vice versa. So Yeah, I think he's, as you say, he's maybe just, he's realised now he's got his license back. He's done his ban, like whatever fucking ban he got. I mean, really, I've been losing no track of that case altogether. I've actually become bored of it. So we need him back. Simple as. He's got good banter. He's good copy. My opinion anyway. Maybe not the Liberals or whatever, but I like his banter at times. So get fit, get him in the ring, and let him just do what he does, and that's boxes. I mean, obviously we know he's not going to knock out people and stuff like that. He's just not that type of guy. But if you go back to that Klitschko fight, which I watched a couple of weeks back, he was absolutely brilliant that night. People need to go back to watch it to actually see his brilliance. He just negated everything that Vlad had, or what Vlad was great at.
Yep, if anybody wants to join us this evening, just hit me up on Twitter with a direct message and I shall get you on the call. We've got Ozzy, we've got Andy, and we've got Hater Dave. We're hoping that Rob Kelly's going to join us after 9. And also the Guru himself said he would be appearing. Whether he does or not is a different matter, but hopefully he will. Let's go over to Monte Carlo then, shall we? Jamie McDonnell, with the no decision against Liborio Solis, managed to miss this one. I turned it on just as they were going to the decision for some reason. I didn't think it was starting as early as it did. Dimitri Bivol with a 1-round knockout over Trent Broadhurst. No doubt Bivol is an excellent fighter who can punch, but it was a bit of a weird one, that Sky were trying to push this guy. I think it's to do with the Matchroom USA agenda, and HBO are trying to get in early. Hopefully this is the next Golovkin or Kovalev, I think. So I don't think the Sky Matchroom boxing casuals are going to be latching on to Mr. Bivol anytime soon. Agit Kabayel, quite impressed with him, defeating Derek Chisora, looked impressive. Scott Quigg, same old from Quiggy, great engine, throws a lot of punches, overwhelms guys of Oleg Yefimovic's level. We need to see Quigg stepped up, no more of this bullshit, in my opinion. Ozzy, out of the 4 main fights, I'm assuming you don't want to talk about Harlem Eubank. Tell me what gathered your interest.
To be fair, the Harlem Eubank fight was an utter joke. He got a robbery. It was a stone cold robbery. He got dropped in the first round.
Yep.
And he was just waved away. The whole card last night had a really weird feeling to it. It was like the referee wanted to stop the McDonnell fight with a cut. He had it checked off a doctor, and then literally it must have been 25 seconds after he's jumping in again. You had Harlem Eubank dropped, and it was just waved away like nobody saw it. And then I think one of the judges had him winning by 40 points to 37. The French battered him, absolutely battered him. And he got that was a joke anyway. But no, I think one of probably the standout, the Bivol shot was excellent. But who is Trent Broadhurst? He's not really up to much. I saw people saying that he's of Bivol's the man at light heavy now. So it's interesting. There's some good fights to be made. Lads like Kovalev, Beterbiev. So that's obviously exciting with the future. Thought Derek Chisora was poor. Really, really poor. Thought the cards were quite generous to him. How Eddie Hearn had him winning the fight, I don't understand that. I mean, I don't think Cabayel's any real world beater, but Chisora looked fat. Not fat, sorry, just more heavier. He could have come in a bit lighter. Didn't really do a lot. It's like if he doesn't get up for the fight, he's just a waste of space, and I don't really know where he's going to go from that. I think it puts to bed any hope. Well, any talks of the Dillian White rematch now. I think the money, Eddie Hearn said that it made it pretty unrealistic anyway.
Don't they both want pay-per-view, apparently?
Yeah, I think so. I saw somebody saying that Dillian White wanted 7 figures to box Chisora in the rematch, which is outrageous amounts of cash. So I think we can wave bye-bye to that. Scott Quigg, he got tagged quite a bit, I thought, actually, off this Yefimovic, but in the end he looked a lot bigger, stronger. Just didn't seem... He looked like a lad who had no respect for him, and he just walked him down and beat him up, to be honest. An interesting one was that... Michael Buffer again made a balls up and said that it was a super bantam final eliminator, which it obviously wasn't. But then there was talk that it was a featherweight final eliminator. Quigg's not even ranked by the WBA. So I don't understand how these things can get sanctioned, or realistically, if there has been just a huge cock up with the WBA rankings this month, because either they've not been changed or they've got blokes fighting in apparent final eliminators, and they've not even ranked them.
Yeah, they've got not Skoglund, wasn't it? Nielsen ahead of Ryder, as we said to
Nielsen.
John earlier. And,
Ryder's not even ranked.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bizarre. Paul Smith appeared again.
So strange, isn't
really
it, man?
Yeah. It's weird. It's like, I don't know if it's not trying to stick up for them, or whether there has been like a bit of a glitch or something, because
know what you do, mate?
It's just a real strange one.
Know what you do? Go through the WBA rankings and count up how many matchroom fighters are actually ranked with them. I'm just thinking about that there now, because Eddie seems to be quite tight with these guys at the minute. You know, he's getting Paul Smith 2 title fights. He's getting Kalia 5 title fights. Rocky Field might go down the WBA route and all that sort of stuff.
Jamie McDonnell's
been doing that route a few times. Yep. Joshua.
Yeah, but Bivol last night was for the WBA light heavy.
Was that the interim title? Because I noticed.
No, it was upgraded to the full about a week before.
Fuck.
Because they were all vacated, so Bivol's the full champion now.
I'll tell you something else to keep an eye out as well, just while we're on this subject. If anybody goes over to Fight News or anywhere that lists all the rankings, Ross actually brought this to my attention the other day. Go down the IBF, right, and look at how many weights they have no contender at number 1, not rated, or even number 2 in a lot of the weights. Most of the weights, Ozzy, have got not rated, as almost as if that slot is up for sale.
Yeah, I noticed that because I was trying to work out who De Gale will be boxing in 4 or 5 weeks' time, thinking just by process of elimination, it'd be relatively easy to work out. But
15 out of 19 divisions.
Well, there wasn't a number 1 or 2 contenders. I'm thinking, well, after that, I can't remember who was at 3, and you're thinking, well, where are these positions? It's like you said, they'll put them up for auction, and whoever flashes the most cash for the sanctioning fee, they'll happily stick it in as a final eliminator. Because I know Warrington, Chalan, I think Josh was ranked at 4, Chalan at 6, and that was ended up as a final eliminator. And it's because they had nobody at 1 and 2. So it's a real... I mean, the rankings are an utter joke, aren't they? I don't think there's any set of rankings that actually give a fair reading these days. WBO, you get all these worms getting into there, and you think, well, why are they there? WBA, IBF, WBC just put Wilder-Stiverne as a mandatory, so how do you have any respect for them?
You often find a lot of the bullshit fringe belts actually have decent rankings. I remember years ago the WBF had really good rankings, like as if most people's rankings, but at the top they had like a really shit fighter as their champion, and then everybody else like below is like actually quite sane.
I think the IBO, they work it on a different way. I can't remember, but I remember having a quick look at those, and bar the odd one here and there, their rankings were actually quite reasonable. You'd look at them and think you wouldn't disagree with it. But no, heading back to the Monaco card, it was a shame about the McDonnell fight. It ended on the way it did because it was warming up quite good. They were both looking to tee off on each other, and I think it would have been quite a fun fight. That anyway, that's the end of Jamie McDonnell at bantamweight now, and he's moving up. So, but all in all, I thought the Monaco card was a travesty. I absolutely hated watching it. It just pissed me off. The whole thing pissed me off, and I know it was only like I say, going back to it, that Harlem Eubank fight just really annoyed me. It was just a joke.
Yeah, I agree with your point on the Chisora cards. I just assumed the opponent had won, and to put the mute button on and went and did something else. I'm just looking at the scores now: 115, 114, 114, 114, and 115, 113. Really close. I thought it was maybe an 8-4-7-5 Aussie to Mr. Caballel, to be honest.
Me too. I was talking to Richie Garner, who was on last week, and he had a decent bet on Caballel by decision. And he was like, oh, how are you seeing it? I said, he's absolutely pissing it. Anyway, when the cards were, he said, I can't believe how close it was. And I completely agree. Well, there was a couple like Tyson Fury had Chisora winning it, and he was ringside, and so did Hearn. But then, to be fair, the other Sky guys, like Adam Smith and Carl Froch on commentary, Johnny Nelson, all had Caballel by a landslide. So it was the cards were really, really strange because I think a lot of people all had Chisora losing comfortably, but then 3 guys ringside all saw the fight completely different.
Hey to Dave, I know you haven't seen much of this card, but I'm going to bring you in because we had a question from Press Pass Paul who was on last week. It's regarding the Dimitri Bivol Trent Broadhurst fight. I think the problem with Broadhurst is he's just not very good and he's chinny, and he's 20-1, but his one loss was by knockout, and whenever he steps up in class and fights anyone decent, he got a good shot on the chin and he got knocked out because he's not very good. On that line, hey to Dave, from Paul Webb, he said, "Why are Australians so terrible at boxing?"
I think Paul's just throwing some shade there. But you know, they do have a massive nation. I don't know what the population is compared to you guys in the UK though. What's the deal there? Do you guys know?
No, I'm not sure, but I know that it's a pretty big island, but there's not as many people on it.
Yeah. Yeah, most of their people are around the coasts. They got a lot of Samoans and Asians from further north that have moved to Australia there, I think.
Here we go, Dave. The current population of Australia is 24,560,887. Oh, sorry, 888. Someone's just been born.
That's actually pretty low for an island that size.
Name me some of your favourite Australian fighters, Dave. Come on, we've got Danny Green. Paul Briggs is one of my favourite.
I don't like any of them, really.
Johnny Famichan.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Jeff
like...
Fennick.
Jeff Fennick, yeah. He was probably... He's got to be the best one ever, right?
Les Darcy.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any Australian win better than Jeff Fennick's over Azuma Nelson the first time?
What about Danny Green against Roy Jones Jr.?
That first fight had dodgy scorecards, if I remember rightly. Who won that first fight with Fennick and Nelson?
Fennick won. I think Fennick dominated the majority.
Nelson should have got a decision then, for what I remember.
Really? I thought he was about to stop Nelson at the end of it, and then in the second fight, Nelson kicked his ass.
I'll need to go back and check it.
I'm sure it was the first time, and I think Fennick got the points decision. But I don't know. I saw the first fight a long time ago, but I assume Fennick is probably one of the best Australian boxers ever.
What about Hussein, Dave?
Oh yes, the very famous. I don't know who that is. Joshua Clottey.
Ante Mundine.
Fought down there and beat Mundine, and I guess I can consider Clottey Australian because I think that's the last time he fought. Oh no, he fought Rosado. That's right, and lost. Oh, too bad.
Paul Briggs is one of my favourites. I know he gets a lot of stick for the dive against Danny Green, but that guy was an absolute warrior in his prime. Have you ever seen the Paul Briggs versus Thomas Adamek fight, Dave?
Oh, I thought you were being sarcastic when you said you liked him.
No, Briggs was brilliant. And
the only time I've seen him is when he got glanced by a jab and countered out.
Oh, that wasn't the real him, Andy. You'll tell him, won't you? Paul Briggs was a warrior, man.
You need to watch, that was a light heavyweight, that Adamek fight. You need to go and watch it.
Yeah.
They don't have two fights.
Yeah, the first one was for the WBC light heavyweight title, and they had a rematch, and I think Adamek won it more convincingly in the rematch. Briggs was a warrior, and he had a rough upbringing as well, I think.
I think Don King was involved in that fight, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was Adamek's promoter.
There we go.
I'm going to have to say Jeff Horn might be my favorite. I don't even particularly like Jeff Horn much, but I don't hate him, so I guess he has to win the lottery there.
Okay, any love for any of the other fights on the Monte Carlo card, Dave?
I didn't watch it.
No problem. Rob Kelly's on the line. Rob, we'll get your opinion on Wilder shortly, but before we do, did you see anything on Monte Carlo? Jamie McDonald, Dimitri Bivol, Caballal, and any love for Scott Quiglett?
Go away with it. I was going to watch it. I was late to the card, and then Tyson Fury posted a picture of him and Roy Jones on Twitter. And I ended up watching a lot of Roy Jones fights last night instead. But I was wanting to see Bivol, so I watched them this morning. Like I wasn't watching them live. Chisora, like I mentioned last week, I think he's had one too many. I think Chisora's finished now. Like, and I think this deal with Hearn has come too late. Hearn was obviously just keeping him out in the public open or in the public eye with a view to making White Chisora 2, failing to make the other fight. Like, but I think Del Boy's taking a couple of too many shots, and even though last night he was fighting a guy who was kind of different style of opponent for him, I don't know if there's anything left for him. Like, obviously he's just looking for paydays, isn't he? Like, I don't think he's ever going to win a world title, is he? So I don't know what's the point in him really carrying on. I don't want that to sound too harsh on a guy, but I don't want to see heavyweight boxing. If opponents are all 16 stone plus, like you're gonna. He's
made a few quid as well, hasn't he? I think he's invested wisely out the ring.
He has a few businesses and that. Like I know he's staying for the money, like, but I don't know how healthy that is in heavyweight boxing. Bivol, the knockout was great. The other fights are not really that bothered with, man, to tell you the truth. Eddie Hearn in Monaco just turn off, like, do you know what I mean?
What about the Bomb Squad, Rob? Come on, you were there screaming at the telly, weren't you, whenever Deontay was doing his thing there with Jim Gray?
I mentioned it in the chat during the week. He put me off him a little bit during the week when he said he wanted a dead body on his record, because, like, when Wilder hits people, they stay hit, as the saying goes. Like, he's scarily knocked out a couple of guys where they've been twitching on the floor, so it's not inconceivable to think about him possibly killing somebody in the ring. Like, so that kind of put me off him a little bit, but I'm back on board the Bomb Squad hype train now after he stopped Stiverne in the manner that he should stop a guy who's been out of the ring for so long and fought a C-level opponent in his last fight. So he did what he had to do. He got the mandatory out of the way. Let's make the AJ fight now. Stop bullshitting around about see it. Nobody wants to see it, bar Eddie Hearn. So it'd be nice if they could make that happen. But I think there's some mandatory situation now where Brazil is going to get the shot, is it?
Yeah, seems to be. Well, apparently the WBC said that Brazil and Molina was a final eliminator, and then it was actually a mistake, Rob. It was nothing to do with the backlash of everyone on Twitter or anything. It was actually a mistake with the tweet. It wasn't a final eliminator, just an eliminator.
Well, like, how is Molina even in an eliminator after the last time? Like, hell, so Sean Porter on the undercard, another guy who I've seen enough of, by the way. How many bites of the cherry? They're talking about a rematch with Keith Thurman. How many bites of the cherry is Sean Porter going to have? Like, you know what I mean? He wrestled the title off somebody, had it lifted from him the first time he fought in a close fight, albeit with Brook. And it's just the same shit over and over with Sean Porter, isn't it? Like, he's Greco-Roman style of boxing. He's too big for it to be a welterweight, but he can make welterweight. And it's just not pretty, like, anytime he fights, is it? Like, he's got no finesse to him, no head movement, really. I suppose he's a strong guy, like, and he can punch a little bit, but, like, I just don't see him as an A-class fighter, and I don't think he's ever going to be. Like, I don't think he's going to stick around to prove me wrong either. He could win a version of a world title again. I don't know what that says about world boxing, but he's a guy I've been fed up. He's in every interview as well, by the way. What's Sean Porter's thoughts on this? Let's bring in Sean Porter. Who gives a shit what Sean Porter thinks?
And his dad has to be there as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, I'm finished with Sean Porter.
Something funny there between they two, like.
Yeah. And as well as that, it never works out. Normally, fighters, when they get to his stage of their career, they've ousted their dads and they have somebody else in for a run, and then they'll do the reunion with their dad down the line. He's not sticking to the script at all, Sean Porter.
No, exactly. Well said. Stay with us, Rob. We'll come to you, no doubt, your thoughts and opinions on more matters as the show progresses. Andy, I don't know if we got your thoughts, actually. Regarding Dimitri Bivol, I think he's a bit small for a light heavyweight, although the guy can clearly dig. Unless he's fighting against someone like a Beterbiev, I'm not really that interested in his career. I want to see him in big fights and see him push back, punch, tested, things like that. Guys like Trent Broadhurst, I never thought for a second, this is not me being wise after the event, Andy, I just never thought for a second that Broadhurst with his little pink shorts was going to do anything.
No, nothing at all, mate. I mean, if you look at the rankings there, actually, you got Jack, Gvozdyk, and probably Kovalev. Maybe the kind of only 3 fights you're kind of looking at. Maybe we call him the other Russian, Konzev, maybe he might get involved, but there's not much you can really kind of put off it. I mean, obviously he's gonna get a bit of hype, but we need to see, as you say, more kind of meaningful fights. Just on that card, actually, what the fuck was Sky at last night? I mean, they were like telling the truth for a change. You know, you talk about performance-wise. I mean, some people were actually saying, like, you know, they were shitting on Quigg for a fair bit of that post-fight analysis. I'm sitting there saying to myself, is this the same freaking Sky that's usually hyping people up? But I found them stranger last night. Everything just seemed to be getting kind of slated on, and seeing Eddie there with his fucking tuxedo on, probably with his half gram in his inside pocket and all that sort of stuff. And that the whole, just as Ozzy says, the whole setting was just absolutely weird. That's after the card later last night. You know, what people were ranked that on the scale to kind of like 1 to 10. I think the vast majority of the votes were coming back between 4 and 5. You know, Bivol is folk were already attested to. You know, Broadhurst was nothing special. I saw him in his last fight in that undercard with Anthony Mundine against Danny Green. Didn't really think too much of him then. Quigg just had his way. Again, Tommy got it right, I suppose, for a change. You know, Quigg in 6, but other than that, you know, Harlem Eubank, that was awful. He absolutely lost that fight, and for Chisora, he absolutely, where was his jab there last night? You know, he usually jabs to the head and chest and all that type of thing. He never done it. I don't think he even done it, you know, double figures, jab to the head, jab to the body and stuff. He just seemed to kind of like march forward and just kind of follow the guy around about the ring. Which, by the way, that guy, okay, I'm not going to kind of like proclaim him anything, but I think he's decent enough fighter. He might not be a world champion, you know, not everybody can be a world champion, but I think he might be a decent European gatekeeper, especially, you know, obviously he's European champion, but anybody want to get up to world level, I think they're going to have problems with that guy, especially with his movement and stuff. But all in all, you know, I missed the Jimmy McDonald fight. I thought it was starting at 7:30 last night. I switched on at 20 past, and it was fight was over. So I'm like, okay. But other than that, that card was nothing to write home about. No, as I says, BIVOL, I suppose he needs to be kind of stepped up now. 12-0, puts that 11 knockouts or whatever it is. You know, he's still waiting for that named opponent and stuff. Okay, people might say there's no rush for him. He's only 26 and stuff, but as you say, I think at best he should be kind of like maybe trying to get himself into super middleweight. For a guy that height, I think I think George Groves actually looks taller than him actually. So okay, George fights kind of smallish, but I think that guy could make 168, but you need to see him in more kind of meaningful fights now.
Well, we didn't get a chance to see it last night, Andy, but I thought against Cedric Agnew, for example, he was punching a lot against the gloves rather than sort of bringing the shots round. But one thing I will say regarding Chisora, his career, I think, is starting to mirror Danny Williams' is a little bit. You know, there's talent there. There's definitely an inherent toughness. There's also a bit of a sort of mental lapse thing going on. There's a motivational issue. He leaves a lot of his best work in the gym. I can see him mirroring Williams. You know, he's had these big wins, these big performances where he's turned up, and he's had ones where he's just let lesser opposition outbox him. I think there's a lot of parallels between Derek Chisora's career and Danny Williams' career. I hope Chisora doesn't keep going on till he's about 60, 70 fights, although he is starting to show a bit of wear and tear. I was surprised to hear Adam Smith say last night that he'd only had 35 fights. He seems like he's been around for quite a long time, Andy.
10 years, I think they say 10 years, but he's had a lot of tough fights in that time. He's not really lived the kind of disciplined life outside the ring and stuff. He's kind of like obviously kind of lose a lot of weight. I mean, was it what weight was it again for the second Fury fight? He was up something crazy, like something like 260, 270 or something like that.
Really heavy, wasn't he? Yeah.
And then he seemed to kind of get his life back into shape again. I think his mum had a go at him and stuff, basically saying, you know, if you're going to do this, do it 100%. He's done that for a wee bit, and then he got knocked out off Hay. In fact, it might be after that actually. He split with Don Charles, come back to him and stuff. You know, but he's understand that he's well into his antiques and stuff like that. He's made some good investments. He's only fighting for the cash. So if it gets to that point, I think you need to kind of step away. I don't get too much punishment there last night, but I think if he's stepping with like say, you know, any of the titleists, even Parker, I think would actually cause him, you know, a fair bit of problem.
Just before we move on, Ozzy, quick one for you from Joseph Webb that's been sent in tonight on Twitter. He said, what was the last Sky card that you actually looked forward to? I'm going to throw mine in. I must admit, I really look forward to Joshua Klitschko. Not the card itself, but definitely the main event. I really was intrigued as to what was going to go down that night. And to be honest, it's my fight of the year. It delivered. What about yourself? What card from Sky have you actually looked forward to beforehand?
Event was Joshua Klitschko, without a doubt. I think you'd have to be mad if you weren't looking forward to that. As a card, I would probably say I think it was one last year, and was it called Rule Britannia or something like that? It was a relatively well matched card, pretty much from top to bottom. No, I think that was a Joshua card, Joshua headlined card. Yeah, I said this is one I was looking forward to, but I can't remember who was on it. But it was that one. It was called Rule Britannia, and that was one of his. I think everyone was saying it was card of the year, etc., things like that. But no, it was enjoyable, that one. But yeah, probably that one. But I don't look forward to many, to be honest.
No, definitely not. I reasonably look forward to last night's on paper, to be honest, but I was a little bit bored by it. Let's move on to the final two cards of the weekend. Whoever wants to comment on these can do. If not, we'll move on. Luis Neri, drugs cheat extraordinaire, possibly beat Arthur Villanova, who has been fighting on UK shores in the past. And also Ricardo Mayorga. I think he retired on his stool, maybe some kind of injury against Andrei Sirotkin. in Russia. So that could be the end of the big Mayorga, Andy.
I saw a bit of the fight. Typical William, stood in a wee bit, gesticulated on the ropes and stuff, come ahead, all that type of stuff. In the end, I think it was a similar kind of injury that apparently that he pulled against Cotto, so that should be the end of him. And just on there, actually, I'd seen that or read that he'd actually got dropped in the 4th before he won in the 6th. So I'll need to try and get a copy of that to see how he fared, see if he's still getting the benefit of the old PEDs.
Yep, certainly that one's up in the air. They're talking about a rematch with Yamanaka. Whether that will happen or not, we shall see. Takashi Inoue, 11-0, is fighting next Friday night for a vacant title against Niwat Kongkan over in Japan. We shall see how he gets on. One of the brothers of the beast, I think he is. Next Saturday night, the 11th of November, quite a lot going on. Blaine McGuigan for Cyclone Promotions. They made a big signing during the week. I think it was a guy, McGregor, was it, Andy? Any more you can tell us about him? Is it Lee McGregor? Am I getting that right?
Lee McGregor, mate. He's an amateur standout for us. I think it was the Europeans. I forget which gold medal he picked up. It might have been the European youth or something like that, maybe the world youth, but he was basically on track anyway. He kind of like, really kind of pick up in the amateur ranks, but I think he decides to turn pro. As I say that a couple of weeks back and stuff, unless you're doing it at Sheffield, you have absolutely no chance of making it to the Olympics with the GB squad. So if Lee's not doing there, and if he's not doing there full time and stuff, training that, then there's no other point in him kind of sticking around about the amateur code, go and get paid for it. And I'll hopefully be ringside next week to watch him. I think he's on the card next week actually. So
yeah,
good to see him.
Certainly is. He's making his debut at bantamweight. Also on that card, Martin Ilunga. This is Billy Nelson's prospect. He's fighting for the vacant IBO Continental Heavyweight title. That's a very esteemed title against Ali Baghouz, who is 10-1. Chantel Cameron is also fighting for the vacant IBO Intercontinental. Not sure what the difference is between the Intercontinental and the Continental, but anyway, she's in against Edith Ramos. Jason Easton also goes for an IBO Intercontinental defense against Joseph Zaradnik. And the main event, Andy, will go to you on this one. Josh Taylor, 10-0, stepping up. WBC Silver Super Lightweight title against Miguel Vasquez. He's a good name, Vasquez. This could backfire stylistically, though. Hopefully, Josh can maintain a bit of range, stop Vasquez from spoiling, maybe make a bit of a statement with a late stoppage, perhaps.
That would be a statement, mate, to stop this guy. 39-5. Don't think he's ever been stopped, actually. He's not really that kind of heavy a puncher, actually, but no, it's definitely a test for Josh, especially at this point in his career. I mean, Vasquez, he's not that old, actually, I don't think. Plus, he's been in with some decent fighters. I'm trying not to kind of go too balls deep in it, but I actually think Josh will do it pretty handsomely on points. I just think he's being the taller fighter. The guy is massive. When I was talking to him in Belfast, I mean, if Vasquez is reported to be right, he's about 5'9" or something like that. He's not really tall. I'm about 5'10". Josh actually fucking dwarfed me. He's about fucking 6 feet, Josh. Or no, about the arse off it. So I think his range, being southpaw as well, as it might cause Vasquez a lot of problems. As you say, it might just kind of pick up the pace and stuff, but I think that you've got to ask a few questions as well. Vasquez he's no fucking bum. He'll certainly will make it tight for Josh, I think. And if he is lacking in any sort of experience, he might get funned out a little bit. You just don't know as well as how this guy might operate on the inside. He's not your typical Mexican fighter. They're technical, so it might end up in a kind of 12-round chess match, or it might be a kind of scrappy 12-round affair. Who knows? But if Josh was to stop this guy, actually, it would definitely be a statement, especially on his kind of his 11th fight or something like that. So that would definitely be a statement. But I'm going for the safety first option and probably say it's going to be like, say, close competitive, but on the cards for Josh.
Yeah, we can catch this one on Channel 5, Rob. WBC Silver title. That can obviously push Josh up in the rankings. He's at number 7 with the WBC. Maybe get a top 5 if he wins this bauble. You could definitely see him mixing with the likes of maybe Adrian Granados, even a Felix Diaz, somebody like that in the near future. If he is going to push on towards world title honours, which we would expect because he is definitely a talented fighter.
Well, he's got the fundamentals for sure, and I enjoyed watching him the last time out. That was beautiful. Like, I don't think you're going to get there's some good moments in 2017, but it's that's up there for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great ringside for that. Like, I mean, she'd just been stone cold sober for that. It was amazeballs.
I bet, and it was the manner of it and everything. But not to dwell on that too much. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see the stoppage, like you said. I think he would be making a real statement if he can stop Vasquez. He's just got a lovely style, hasn't he? He's just got a lovely style. Does everything right. Like, so, be interesting to see. I'd like to see another fighter from Scotland come along and put themselves on the map and win a world title. Like, so, hopefully he's in that category. I think the Ricky Burns fight has gone away, has it?
Looks like it, doesn't it?
That would never happen, mate. Even if I were to say that Burns was kind of like still semi-competitive or whatever, I still think that would be an absolute mindfucker fight to get made between like McGuigan's and Matchroom and stuff. So I don't think that fight would actually even remotely happen unless it was like for like a unification or something like that.
Well, it favours Josh at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely.
Everything with he probably has the kind of the odds in his favour. If you know, it's a big payday for him in Scotland though as well. You know what I mean? If they could make it, so if he makes more of a statement, maybe we will see that fight. But I think maybe the time has passed for that one. It probably needed to happen next. Like, so yeah, I'm interested to see where he goes. I think he's definitely got the attributes. But a lot of things can happen between here and a world title. So we wait and see. But he definitely has the quality to win one for sure. Definitely.
Would you agree with that, Hater Dave? Obviously, the Ricky Burns fight would be something that you could get your teeth into, two recognisable names. You obviously saw Taylor beating O'Hara Davis. Did he impress you that night?
Yes, I love that performance. First Scottish fighter that's impressed me, at least in modern times. Obviously, what's his name? That guy who fought Duran.
Buchanan.
Buchanan.
You try to tell me we've not had a decent fighter since fucking Ken Buchanan in the 70s?
Well, he's the last one that I am aware of that was really respectable.
What about Gary Cornish, Dave?
Scott Harrison was alright.
Scott Harrison
for a period.
What about Jim One? Bang on the chin, baby.
His style was awful to watch, man.
I think a headbutt running Jim One.
He was too much. That was that. What was his name? Was it Sean O'Grady?
It was O'Grady. Yeah, it was
Charlie Nash.
No, Grady. One of me. The cut was was on the scalp, I think, wasn't it? And the blood was running into his eye. They stopped it pretty early. Like, it was good to scrap that.
What was the one actually? They got kind of heated because of the kind of the Protestant Catholic.
That was the Charlie Nash, wasn't it?
The Charlie Nash fight.
Yeah.
I thought that was the Grady one as well. Wasn't the guy Irish American or something in box? Maybe it was both. It could have been both at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially in the 70s up in Glasgow, anyway.
Yeah, I know there was an issue with the Charlie Nash fight. Go ahead, Dave.
So, well, I mean, Taylor's the first, I should say, Scottish boxer to capture my interest and my imagination. I like the guy, and
you got out that one pretty well, Dave.
Ricky Burns is a waste of time for me. Maybe it's really meaningful to the UK fans and the Scottish fans to have him pass the torch. I think that's stupid, especially Burns coming off a Crolla loss. Let's just see Taylor fight the best out there. Actually, I'd even rather see him beat up O'Hara again than Ricky Burns, because O'Hara, I just like to see get punched.
I think, Ozzy, there would be a bit of a statement made if Taylor was to get rid of Vasquez, particularly even if he was to beat him. Vasquez has only lost to the best sort of fighters, Timothy Bradley, Canelo. I'm looking down his record. There was a couple of fights that I'd forgotten about. He took the unbeaten record of Brady's Prescott. He also took the unbeaten record of Lenny Zapavinia, who I was mentioning earlier, from Australia. He took the unbeaten record of Denis Shafikov. Lost to Mickey Bay. He's a decent fighter. He might not be the nicest to watch, but Taylor needs to be on his game here.
Completely agree. This is a big step up, and kudos to Cyclone and Josh Taylor and everybody involved for taking this fight, because they could have milked a title like that for essentially in boxing terms for a year, 3 fights, but they're a case of they're moving him quickly, and I think if he gets a win on Saturday, I wouldn't be shocked to see him box for a world title in his fight, the next fight after that, because, well, is it vacant? So there's no reason why he can't be shoved into some potential mandatory with that belt. It's that silver title, isn't it? So it's essentially the one before you go in and box with a full title.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a serious win. I like Josh Taylor. I think he has it all. He speaks really well. He can punch. he was an excellent amateur, and he's adapted really well into the pros. I don't think there's a lot to dislike about him, to be honest. I'll put him up there as one of my favourite high fighters purely on the basis of what he did to O'Hara Davis. But no, it's a fight I'm looking forward to, really. It's just a shame that it clashes with other shows. It's something that I'd like to see in 2018, the promoters talk about a bit, so you can watch all these fights without having to channel hop every 10 or 15 minutes.
Right, what else have we got next week? Let's go over to Matchroom USA. I think, hey to Dave with you. Danny Jacobs in against Luis Arias for the first Eddie Hearn venture into the American market. He reckons he's going to take over from the likes of Bob Arum and all these guys. I believe it when I see it, but they're running alongside Dimitri Salita Promotions, actually, and Joey DeGuardia Star Boxing in the Coliseum in New York. Jarrell Miller's on the card as well against Marius Vac. That should be a decent fight. Conor Benn is making his American debut. And also we've got, who else have we got on there? Nobody of any great note. Yeah, Danny Jacobs against Arias, Dave. I think it's actually a pretty decent fight. This Arias isn't too bad. I think he was with Floyd for a while. He's 18-0. He knows what he's doing. I think they could have dug up worse opponents than this for Jacobs, to be honest.
Yeah, not bad, actually. I expected worse from Eddie Hearn and from Jacobs coming off a loss, which I hesitate to call a loss because I tried to give rounds to Golovkin there, and I still had it for Jacobs the second time I scored it by a point. So, I mean, it could have gone either way, but I think Jacobs won that fight. I hope Jacobs wins because I want to see what more he can do in the division. Because I think if he can do that, what he did to Golovkin, I think that means he's got what it takes to be at the top level at middleweight. And I don't know if that means he's an all-time great, but it means that he's great for this era. And Golovkin, I think, has gone down, in my estimation, a good bit since last year. Maybe some of you as well, for not being able to get rid of Canelo and for not being able to do much. In my opinion, he didn't do even as well against Jacobs. He did better against Canelo than he did against Jacobs. Yet he got the Jacobs decision and didn't get the Canelo decision. Arias, I don't know enough, though, to predict this fight or discuss about it. I've never seen him fight. Just going on the record, though, you'd have to say, I mean, you can't, it's hard to criticize, certainly. Wasn't Walk last week? I believe we were discussing the rankings, and you said he was like top 5 at heavyweight or something?
Was it WHACK I was talking about? Let me just check this.
Oh, no, wait. Maybe it was Char. I always get those two confused.
Yeah, Char is top 5 with the WBA. Andy was saying that.
I think that's even actually possibly worse. But Walk, well, that's he should take Jarrell some rounds, Miller some rounds. And if Miller stops him, then you know the Joshua fight's probably going to happen at some point. He's another big talker. He's got some personality. He's got some aggression in the ring. I think it's a fight that could probably happen sooner or later.
Andy, quick word from you as well on Jacobs against Arias. Arias' breakthrough win was against Magomadev. I actually saw that fight. I think Arias looked pretty good. I can see him giving Jacobs a reasonable enough test.
I could do. I mean, for their first venture in the US, I suppose the card's not too bad. I noticed they've got the kind of one of the local guys that I've kind of spoke to in the past, back and forward, and that Tommy Renon. He's been on the cards a couple of times now, but he's I'm sure he fought Tony Harrison at one point actually, and or was it Dusty Harrison? I forget his name, but he was one of the guys who, you know, he would look good at a kind of club level, but he just couldn't really kind of get up against like some of your NABF type level fighters. Jacobs, on the other hand, I think he needs another big performance here actually. Certainly if he's going to put himself into the shop one day for potentially the Golovkin Canelo winner, but I think he needs to be kind of looking at potentially the win against Lemieux and Saunders. I think Jacobs might even stop Arias. Again, Arias is, I've watched him a couple of times through the years. I'm not overly impressed, and I really don't know if he's got the power as such. And I've not seen him dropped anyway, but I don't know if his chin would kind of hold up. And Jacobs can bang, so I'm going to say that maybe Jacobs is going to stop him maybe around about the 8th or 10th round or whatever. But I'm more kind of interested in that other card that's on in America. Who's Beterbiev, far more interested in that fight because it's been far. Okay, he's only fighting Enrico Colling, but it's good to see this guy back in the ring actually because we need this guy to be fit and active. It's been over a year actually since he last fought, so it's good to see him back in the ring.
I thought he was going to go the way of
Mickey Garcia.
No, the Russian Mayweather.
What one's that?
The guy who beat Jacobs. What was his name? I can't even think of his name.
Pirog.
Dimitri Pirog.
Pirog, yeah. I thought he was going to go the way of Pirog.
Yeah, he had a bad back though, didn't he?
Talent, and then he just vanishes. It was so frustrating.
He was supposed to fight Golovkin, wasn't he? Imagine what a fight that would have been.
It would have been phenomenal. That would have been great.
That guy got so overrated just off that one fucking fight against Jacobs. I think he came back and fought. I think he fought a decision fight. It was somebody, it might be a Czech fighter or whatever it is, and then he just disappeared. He's some major back
came back against Ishida after everybody else had beat Ishida.
That was his last fight? I
think it was, yeah.
All right. So I suppose the other fighter on the card, obviously, I mean, he's only an 8-rounder, I suppose, but if you look at it, Juan Ruiz, he's 20-0. Venezuelan, he's been fighting in Mexico kind of back and forward and that. Okay, you could say that maybe some of the fighters might be suspect or whatever, but I dare say he's kind of came across a few fighters that are kind of semi-decent. He's fighting, that was under Best Putin. He's, one of the kind of Russian amateurs. I think he fought in the World Series of Boxing and that as well. So, that's a kind of probably a wee bit of a step up, I suppose. But only an 8-rounder though. But the card as well. I mean, it's not great like that Matchroom card either. But I suppose it's good to see Beterbiev back, Best Putin fighting as well, and I think that's kind of really it. I mean, obviously I watch Jacobs and stuff, but there's not really much else I'm kind of really interested in that card. Jarrell Miller. Any of you guys actually sold on that guy?
He's all right, isn't he? I thought he did okay against who was that big pudding? Was it Gerald Washington?
Gerald Washington, aye. But he's not any great shakes either. I noticed Conor Ben's on that card as well, eh?
Yeah,
he's not great shakes, but remember he was outboxing Deontay Wilder with the jab for about 3-4 rounds. So.
But was Wilder no injured at that point though?
I can't remember. I'm not sure. Aussie, let's have a look. What about Eddie's adventure into America? He wants to take over. He likes the cut of this Jarrell Miller, doesn't he? I think he might have half an eye on him fighting Dillian White as a way of introducing White to the American audience. Someone was sent me in a message during the week saying Eddie's looking a little bit fatter and a little bit greyer these days. He's maybe a bit weathered by the boxing game. Aren't we all?
Yeah. Well, Jarrell Miller he's a bit of a loudmouth, isn't he? And he is a big lumpy. I think he weighed in at near 300 pounds for his last fight. Now that's absolutely huge. Now Mariusz Wacki can take a punch, can't he? He's only been stopped once, and that was due to a real bad cut. So it'd be it's just contradictory of what Eddie Hearn says, isn't it? In terms of he slams all drug cheats. Yet he's got Mariusz Wacki on another card. In terms of all that. Jacobs, I agree. I think he'll stop him. And I agree with what Andy says as well, that he should look to go after the winner of Billy Joe Saunders, David Lemieux. I'm not sure that Cletus Seldin. I haven't seen a lot of him, but what I did catch was his last fight, actually. Purely for the fact it was against Reynold Garrido, who we're all familiar with. But he's 20-0, and he seems to have built somewhat of a record, but I don't know a lot about the guy. It's going to be a difficult one for Hearn, this, going over to America. I'm not sure what ticket sales are like, whether it's full or it's half full. I'm not too sure, but it'll be interesting to see the reaction he gets, etc. Because it's all right saying one thing, but he'll have to persist and be consistently in the public eye over there to take over, as he says. And
a word on Beterbiev as well, Ozzy. This Enrico Colling, he's had a couple of wins over Liebenberg, hasn't he? But he hasn't got the punch to keep Beterbiev off at all.
I think it'll be over within 3 rounds.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he'll stop him early. It wouldn't surprise me if it is something similar to what BIVOL did. Gets him out there and around it. It really wouldn't shock me that. And then you've got a nice little... You've got a nice selection of fighters that you could put together, and that wouldn't be a bad super series at light heavyweight. There's some real good up and coming contenders, whatever you want to call them now, that you put them together, and what there is a lot of power between them all. They can all really bang, so it's good to see him back, but the rest of the card I have no interest in.
Hey, to Dave, I noticed this Beterbiev-Koling fight is at the Save Mart Arena in California. Do you shop at the Save Mart Arena?
Never heard of it, but why is a fight taking place there?
Sounds like it's in the middle of like Sainsbury's or something.
It's like just the biggest place with a roof over it they could find or something.
Probably. What do you think about Beterbiev, Dave? You're just happy to see him back and active again after getting rid of... he's gone from Popper Al now, hasn't he? He's with Bob Arum.
That's interesting. Maybe that way he can fight Crusher, if Crusher manages to come back and still have anything left. I would have been happy to see Beterbiev fight Stevenson or Kovalev. And I think he was, he was moving along so quickly to start, and then all of a sudden just falls off, I guess, due to injuries and stuff. But when it was really caught my attention when he beat Cloud, because Cloud, he's not great, but he's very tough. And he's a guy who'll take you rounds, and he just got blown away. So Beterbiev, I think, is very, very dangerous. Maybe some glass in the faces for him, sort of like Kovalev was hiding glass in the body. Because we did see Beterbiev dropped, but it was more of a balanced knockdown. But we'll see. I would like to have seen Crusher destroy him back when he was on top, because I think the two guys kind of hated each other, and there was some bad blood from the amateur days. Two big murderous Russians going at it. I mean, that's a fight I would most like to see for Beterbiev.
Quick word on Jacobs as well, Dave, before we move on.
Well, other than saying I don't really know too much about Arias, for the future, I would like to see Jacobs get back into the title mix with those guys. I would prefer actually. Well, I mean, I don't want to say like cut out all these up and comers like Arias, because I know like if you keep cutting them out, they'll never get a shot to prove how great they are or potentially good they are. But at the same time, I kind of want to see Jacobs and Saunders go at it, because I think we just narrow the playing field down a little bit. Maybe Jacobs and Lemieux, but I guess Lemieux and Saunders are going at it, so that kind of is off the table now. So yeah, this fight makes sense considering the landscape. I guess you can't fight Saunders or Lemieux, can't fight Golovkin or Canelo. Well, I guess they're on the shelf. It seems really unclear right now. I assume they're waiting for a rematch, but no one really knows for sure if that's going to happen. So Arias is fine in the meantime till the division becomes a bit of a clearer picture again.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Dave. Dave the Hater's on with us, and the Aussie as well. Me, Steve. It's 9:30. We're going to be getting out of here very soon. Bellew of the Week's to come up later. Before we do, final preview of the weekend. Really looking forward to this one. Some good trade fights. Fair play to Jason McClory, Frank Warren's matchmaker. Made some good fights on the Liam Smith, Liam Williams undercard. No title on the line as far as I know as yet for Smith against Williams. It doesn't really need one. One loss apiece. No ifs, no buts, I think it's called this time. Hopefully we'll have a clean fight. Williams was doing pretty well in the first one, and then he started to grind down towards the end of the fight, and Liam Smith got the win. Thomas Patrick Ward is on the undercard, 21-0 against Sean Davis. If I remember correctly, Davis fought Gamalia Fire, I think it was, and Davis has never knocked anybody out, so he'll have his work cut out for him there in the British Super Bantamweight title fight. Josh Leather, who was seen knocking out Phil Sutcliffe, is in against Glenn Foote. That's one of those east-west things. Nathan Gorman was supposed to fight against Nick Webb. Webb pulled out. He's got Mohamed Saltby instead. I know Ozzy was talking about that last week. And Mark Heffron returns his stop-start career. Seems to have been around for a long time. Heffron never really made the breakthroughs as yet. A lot of out-of-the-ring trouble. He's going in an 8-rounder against the once decent prospect Lewis Taylor, who's picking up a few losses along the way these days. We'll go to you first of all, Andy. Obviously, Smith against Williams, decent fight, decent rematch, fair play to both the guys for taking it. How do you see it going this time? If Williams can maintain his engine, keep the gas going, you'd expect him to be able to maybe outbox the passive Smith?
I thought he was on route to doing it first fight, and the tank just blew. I mean, I remember when that fight was stopped. I was really disappointed because I really did think that Williams was going to get fighting. I just think they stopped him because he was maybe he was saying stuff in the corner and stuff, but the cutting Smith was pretty brutal, and it's typical of Gallagher, don't it? He's just putting his fighter out there, and just kind of lets him take a beating or whatever and that. But this time round about, I'm going to say I'm going to go with Smith, just purely because I think he's slightly more kind of tougher. Actually, I just think Smith's got to be kind of a bit more kind of dog on him, I suppose. Williams, I think. For all the talk and that for the first fight, I knew this fight, he's really got to back it up this time, I think. We saw what happened during the course of the week there as well on Twitter and that. He's took a break to a comment with Joe Gallagher. So I tweeted him about it. He says, no mate, whatever I tweet out stays up. Well, I checked it again yesterday, last night. I think it got deleted actually, so I think he's been told to kind of rein it in a wee bit, but I'm still at 50-50, but I slightly kind of favour Liam Smith. Actually, I think we might get another kind of ugly kind of ending to this. Actually, I can maybe see it getting kind of rough and ready, getting kind of trench warfare in there. So we'll wait and see. But I'm at the minute I'm kind of edging with Smith. Anything
on the undercard that takes your fancy, Andy?
No, at all, mate. I'll maybe watch Josh Leather. He's okay to watch, so I'll kind of tune into his fight. As you say, Mark Heffron, no really kind of kicking off for him, really, is it? I mean, was it the other brother actually who drew or got the kind of close victory against John Thane?
That was Ronnie Heffron, yeah, his brother.
His brother. I was a kind of, never mind. I was going to say something about that, but I thought it was Mark that fought him.
Right, Rob Kelly's jumping on and off. We've got you, Rob. Hopefully, we're talking Liam Smith, Liam Williams. What do you think about this rematch? Williams obviously doing okay in the first fight, didn't manage to see it through. We were maybe saying that if he can keep the gas tank going, he might be able to get the revenge victory.
Yeah, tough one to call. It's sometimes when it's a close fight in the first fight, you have to analyze the fight a little differently. I think my kind of heart wants Williams to win, but I think Smith might step up the gas a little bit earlier and put the pressure on him earlier this time, and maybe win more convincingly, or win definitively rather. Even though I'd like to see him as I favor Williams. I just don't know. Like, I just think either Williams goes out and boxes out of his skin, or boxes just levels above Smith this time and wins the fight easily, or I think Smith puts the foot on the gas and wins more definitively. That makes sense. I'm not being very clear on who I think is being the winner, because I think it's going to be still a close fight, but that's kind of the way I see the result going either way.
No problem, Rob. Ozzy, it's hard to give the Smiths any credit, especially on this podcast, but to give him his due, Liam, he did take his lumps in the first fight. He covered up as he didn't throw a lot of punches. I think it was more to do with Williams' deficiencies rather than Smith's antagonism that really got him back into the fight, but he did hold in there. He got the win in the end, and I suppose we have to give him his due for that, if nothing else.
Yeah, definitely, and I think this is a real good fight, and the card itself is very good as well. There's a lot of good trade fights on him. As I said previously, usually finally don't disappoint, but the main event is superb, and fair play to them both. I do think it's a WBO final eliminator. Now, don't quote me on that, but I'm sure I've read, and I spoke to a couple of people when I was at the Leeds show, and they said it was for that. So there's a potential shot at a vacant world title when Cotto chucks it away at the end of the year. I think Liam Smith will win this, and I think he'll do it a lot more convincingly. Some of me thinks that in the first fight he didn't have the respect for Liam Williams. He obviously had the weight issues, etc. For this one, he looks a lot leaner. I'll be shocked if he fails the weight, and I think he'll do a real job on Williams. I think he'll stop him from rounds 8 to 10. I think it'll be an excellent fight, and like I say, it's a real good scrap. And surprisingly, the bookies have got Liam Williams as favourite, which shocks me, to be honest. I think Smith's got that bit more experience. He's been in with the better opponents of sort, but no, it's a fight I'm definitely looking forward to, and probably the fight I'm looking forward to most next weekend. But there's other fights on the undercard as well. There's one that's not listed on BoxRec, which is Jeff Saunders, who is the younger brother of Bradley Saunders, against a lad from Liverpool called Stephen Lewis. Now I think that's over an 8-rounder as well. But I think both lads are, I think, 8-0 and 10-0. So that's another good fight, that a good learning fight, up and coming. They're both young enough that if they lose, they can come back. But no, I agree with you. What you said. Kudos to Jason McClory and obviously the promoter. It's a lot of good, well-matched fights, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I think Jason McClory, Aussie, is he the guy you see in the corners? He's a big, heavy guy with a big, massive beard.
Yeah. He reminds me of a bit like a Viking, like long hair, big beard. He's the matchmaker. He owns his own company called Long Shot Sports. I don't know if you've seen them on Twitter. He does quite a lot of small hole shows. He's the manager of Tommy Langford, I think Leon Woodstock Jr., a few other lads as well. So he works quite closely with Andy Ayling and obviously Frank Warren, who he's employed by. But yeah, that's Big Jason. He's a real nice bloke. He comes across really well. I think he's one of the better matchmakers around, where it's not for the first time where he matches these youngsters with real opponents and not puddings. I'm not saying he does that all the time, but more for the better. He produces these well-matched fights, particularly since BT have come on board.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask this to Donny actually earlier, but I think the weight of British boxing seems to be tilting a little bit now, doesn't it? Obviously, with Josh Warrington and Frampton both going over to Frank's side, BT coming on board. You've got Selby and DeGale co-headlining a card or whatever the agreement is. There's talk of Amir Khan signing some kind of agreement with BT Sport as well. With Eddie jet setting over to America, Kell Brooks lost. You've got Bellew Hay coming up. You've got Anthony Joshua was pretty much a decently placed right hand away from Eddie's business going up in smoke, really. I'm not saying I take any great delight in this, to be honest. I know a few people will. But the balance of power, Frank, he just manages to keep clinging in there, doesn't he, after all these years?
Yeah, I think he's making, as James DeGale said, he's definitely on the comeback. I think definitely with the backing from BT, it is a massive, massive help. They provide lots of cash, which obviously we know Frank's not always had with Box Nation, purely for the fact it's his own channel. So BT have got the help with the setup.
The footy crossover as well. They can advertise to that angle as well, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they're playing a part in making these the better fights as well. Like I think with BT it comes on only comes on about 8 o'clock, and they show 4 fights. So they don't want to show a lot of rubbish, basically, because they're new to the market. They want to keep the viewers on and keep tuning in. So realistically, it guarantees you on the card at least 4 relatively decent fights, purely for the fact that BT need them. See with the Frampton show in a couple of weeks, that's another well-matched card. But no, I think it's brilliant for British boxing as a whole that we've got Cyclone. They keep going along. They've not got the huge budgets, but they're putting shows on like Josh Taylor against Vasquez. That's a great fight. Frank Warren, like we said, and as much as we give Eddie Hearn sticky for a long time, he's been flying solo, really. And somewhat, in a sense, I think it's been a bit of his downfall. And he's let his guard down a couple of times. I'll never forget when he said that basically British titles are meaningless. And I think that was really insulting, particularly as a lot of his fighters are British level at the moment. There's obviously a chance to move on. But no, in terms of that, I think it's real good. And I'd say it's been its strongest in a long, long time, and long may it continue.
Well said, Ozzy. Just before we wrap up, Rob, with Bellew of the Week, you were away from us briefly whenever we were talking about Danny Jacobs, Luis Arias, which is the Eddie venture into America, and also Artur Beterbiev against Enrico Colling next week. Any brief comments on either of those fights?
Well, I fancy Beterbiev to do the business. Beterbiev is one of my favourites, so I fancy him to do the business in emphatic knockout style. Danny Jacobs against the Cuban. It's a hard one because I haven't seen the Cuban, and they can go either way. You have high hopes for the Cubans with memories of Stevenson and all this, and I do love Rigondeaux, as everyone knows. So but you can be let down badly with Cubans as well. You know what I mean? So Danny Jacobs is not really a fella I gave a shit about until he knocked out Peter Quillen, because I was happy for his story and all that, but I felt like they were just giving him a sympathy trinket, and he was being managed away from all the dangerous talent in the division. But you know, a great performance against put out Peter Quillen. It was a bit of an enigma, but still flattened him, destroyed him, and then to go and give Golovkin and show really how to beat Golovkin, didn't he? He gave I hate to call the Oscar, but he definitely gave a blueprint on how to beat Golovkin. So I'd like to see him back in the mix. I don't think he's going to get a fight with Canelo and Golovkin though, because I think if Golovkin wins, what's the point in giving him a rematch? Like, he really, like, does anyone really think, like, clamor for it that much? Was it that close of a fight that it was a close fight with a clear winner to me? I don't think it's like an appealable rematch unless Danny Jacobs' stock goes up with a couple of emphatic stoppages.
Do you know what might be fun, Rob? What about Danny Jacobs against David Lemieux?
Yeah, really good fight. Really good fighter. Andy's mentioned that who should be coming on the show next week, by the way, not to spoil it, but Andy Lee's mentioned that he wants the Jacobs fight or the winner of Saunders Lemieux. So that'll be a good fight. That'll be a cracker, actually, I think. But yeah, I mean, I like I said, I had no real interest in Jacobs until the Peter Quillen fight. Then it made me take a little bit more notice of him. He's obviously a good boxer. I don't know, like, he's a bit dull, like, isn't he? I don't know if he's going to be a star or whatever. Like, he doesn't light the fire for me. But it's just on the point that you were making about, you know, the wheels possibly falling off for Eddie Hearn. Like, it's not that we care about these promoters. Like, you know what I mean? Stars are born, not made. So when we look back on the great fights of the past, we're not really thinking about the promoters. We know Frank Warren had a hand in the great fights of the 90s, and Barry Hearn together. But so what, really? Like, we're looking for just good fights that we can remember. So maybe if the wheels do fall off already, someone else will come along, because it's down to the fighters, not the promoters at the end of the day, to keep the sport going. Like, you know what I mean? Boxing's not going to die if Eddie Hearn loses his cash cow. Boxing will keep going. Like.
Excellent stuff. Well said, Rob. Well said. Rob's trying to get Andy Lee on, hopefully, for next week. As he mentioned, we're bringing the guests at the moment. That'll be 4 or 5 weeks in a row with guests on the Nuthouse. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Let's get on to Bellew of the Week, and then we'll get out of here. First nomination came in from Rob Barnett. He's nominating Boxing Kingdom. I can't tell if Boxing Kingdom, it's the parody one or the real one these days, but they said, who's the best super flyweight around at the moment? And then they put a load of Japanese writing below. It really is quite the strange account, that one. Tommy Roosh has nominated Michael Buffer. He said, Tyson Fury, please return. Fury versus Joshua may be the greatest fight in UK or even world boxing history. # let's get ready to rumble. And then a little trademark symbol next to it. Piss off, Michael. Mick Hennessy's back in the game, everybody. He's getting into women's boxing. Women's world champion Pink Tyson announces her UK arrival and roars, let's get this party started. And they had a picture of her with her belts. I think there was a WBF belt in there, a GBU belt. All manner of world titles there, Andy, for Pink Tyson. You'll be tuning in with interest, no doubt.
When I saw the name, mate, I just disregarded the article. I didn't even bother looking at it. I bother reading it. I'm saying to myself, how many more to come? There's fucking plenty by the sounds of it.
Good old Mick. He's still punching above his weight. Goulartista nominated. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
You think Pink Tyson is good? Wait till you see Purple Mayweather and Orange Fraser.
Yellow Kell. Well, that was a bit of a low blow, wasn't it? Sorry. Goulartista has nominated Curtis Stevens in an interview with our favourite Ellie Setback. He said, Gennady Golovkin doesn't hit hard. No, he doesn't hit hard, Andy, apparently, says Curtis Stevens.
I saw that one, actually. Well, we'll just stay. I think somebody just basically tweeted him a picture of his face after he got absolutely...
Woo! Shitballs!
Yeah. Exactly. I was like,
from the fella who was a fucking viral meme the next day after getting hit by the...
There was a time in the 70s where Muhammad Ali said George Foreman don't hit hard. Now, I mean, we all know George Foreman is one of the best punchers of all time, but I think he meant it in a certain way, because he always felt like Joe Frazier hit harder than Foreman because it was Chuvalo who described the difference in the power between the two. He said, when Foreman hits you, it's like a Mack truck going 50 miles an hour. When Frazier hits you, it's like a Mustang going 100 miles an hour. So it's a different feel to it, and I think Frazier's was more punishing to Ali, but I don't know. Boxers can say weird things or they can think of power in their own weird ways.
Yep. Toby Hines, a friend of the pod, has sent in one for Don Charles. He said, did Don Charles really just compare AJ to Ali on the Ringside podcast? Spencer Fearon tried to save him, but he then said he meant out of the ring. Actually compared the outside of the ring influence between the two men. Where can we start, says Toby Hines. Start at Bellew of the Week, Toby. A very valid nomination. This is a good one for you, Andy. AB has been up to his old tricks again, old Adrian Broner. I would have fucked up Roberto Duran at lightweight, says AB.
Oh,
I knew Andy would love this one.
I was watching an old video Cholo the other night there, and it was basically somebody asked him about Maidana, right? No, he asked him about Broner. And his full facial expression just changed, and he looked at me and says, "Who the fuck's that?" He said, "Is that the one that Maidana beat?" "Oh no, he's a clown. He wouldn't even last fucking 4 rounds with me. See, he's a lightweight. He'd be fucking. Well, I wouldn't say we get knocked out early doors and that, but he'd have a fucking hell of a fight on his hands anyway." I was talking to a few. I think it might have been Dave Lee actually was talking about. Talking about wasted talent. See if he just fucking was dedicated and stayed at 135 for him about a couple of years and that. He would actually be taken a wee bit more seriously, and his fucking resume might be, this was full of glaring holes, but, basically, jumping weights has fucked his career badly. He just thought he could fucking walk up, turn up, and just do what he thinks he can do best to win a fight. It's just not going to happen. He's not got the dedication. Duran would have absolutely annihilated him down the stretch.
The best lightweight since Benny Leonard would have lost Adrian Broner, right?
Yeah. A guy that absolutely cleaned out and almost had a career basically by today's standards in one division is going to have problems with AB, baby.
And then this is the guy who moved up to beat Ray Leonard. Who lose to Adrian Broner. Fucking hell.
Moved up and went 15 rounds with Marvin Hagler and took his best shots. But no, AB's going to fuck him up.
Yeah. Nomination for AB. A definite good nomination for old AB. Ben Thorns has nominated Dan Eager, who is defending Anthony Joshua's run of mandatories for his title at the moment. John Swan nominated Bunsey. Bunsey, yeah, I saw this myself actually on the BoxRec forum. Apparently someone called Bricks, who's from Australia, seems to have a bit of beef with Bunsey, and he put up, "Let's boycott Bunsey's latest book." And Bunsey took issue with this because he posts on BoxRec. And he invited people to track the details of the BoxRec posters involved who slated him in his book.
What a bitch.
He wasn't happy, Andy.
I'd actually asked for a copy of the thread. It's something like 10 pages long. I'm not even going to Bunch's comments yet. That's how irrelevant it is. Fucking dinosaur. What a wanker, man. I mean, Jesus Christ, what a wanker.
He wants all the details.
Steve Lillis are just starting up a posse to come around and sort out. Like popping shit. Hype man and I'm on the way to the ring.
See, came out today with him, but I'll have to put him fucking back in that ghetto in Philadelphia and let Hopkins just fucking finish him off. Because remember, you talk about melted. Holy Christ, man! I've never seen a man melt. I mean, Bunch is a big guy, right? But he fucking melted like a bitch in front of Hopkins, like.
But Bunsey's not happy anyway. Friend of the pod, Rory McGonigal, sent this one in for Don King. Don King told Wilder that after Stiverne retires him, he will sign him. I don't think Don understands how retirement works, says Rory. Well said, well said. Ben Churchard has nominated Scott Quigg for saying that he's close to a title shot with the WBA. He's not even in the top 15. We mentioned this one. We mentioned this one earlier. Brian King has been on the beat again. He found HB Boxing. HB says, lots of buzz around here for Loma versus Rigo. That's it. I'm only going to the Jacobs fight because there's great ticket prices and I want to support Eddie Hearn in the USA. Oh. Brian's not happy about that one.
Jesus Christ, man. Just see when Eddie lands in New York or whatever, just go up to him at fucking arrivals and just pull him out and just take all of them in your mouth and try and take his balls at the same time, you sad piece of trash, man.
Dave, are you supporting Eddie Hearn USA? Are you going to the show?
Well, I guess it was a couple of weeks since I've been on, but you were talking about how Eddie's trying to bring over the stabbing culture that you guys cultivated. So, you know, I mean, I'll give him a chance, see how it goes, but I'm not going to support him if he wants people to start getting their fucking throats cut at our shows.
I could see you there, Dave, stabbing away, snorting coke, singing Sweet Caroline. You'd have a great time.
Well, I'll be stabbing away in the back room with Eddie's missus.
Ooh.
Wait, does he have a missus?
Yeah, he's married, but I'm not going to get into that.
Moving on, Tommy Coyle. Tommy Coyle. He says, I'm all over a fight with O'Hara Davis. That's one's for the fans. And Richard Harvey said, worthy of box office, #boom boom. Thanks to David Farmer for nominating this one. I nominated this one myself, actually, for Box Nation TV. It's for Colin Hart. Boxing scribe Colin Hart claims that Daniel Dubois is the hardest single-punching heavyweight that Britain has ever seen. How the friggin' hell can you tell against guys who he's been beating, Andy? You know, I mean, he looks like a big puncher, Dubois, but come on, Colin Hart saying that, Luke.
Colin Hart, how long has he been in the game for?
Oh, 40, 50 years or so.
He's been ringside for some of the biggest fights in boxing history, like in recent history I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he comes out with Dubois as the, I mean, fuck, he's obviously on the payroll there, eh? He's got to be. He must be in the payroll.
He must be like that. Who's that other guy who they have on the sofa in Box Nation? Is it Alan Hubbard, the one who's got a big massive belly and he always looks like he's about to fall asleep?
Is that how he's got the leather jackets and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's Alan Hubbard. Yeah.
Didn't Hart do that Ogogo essay recently where he fabricated this whole?
No, that was Jeff Powell.
That was Powell. Right. Sorry.
Same ilk, Rob.
Yeah, they're similar characters, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Brian King has nominated Joe Gallagher. He said, imagine Dog Shagger contacting the British Board of Boxing Control and reporting Williams for calling him a dog shagger, the shame of it all. Brian King there. Tony Bellew has been nominated from Jack Moorher. He says, Tony said, he was talking about the Del Boy fight, actually, Derek Chisora last night. He said, winning these rounds on pressure alone here for me is Del Boy. Caballel looks as if he's trying to see out the rounds and wait for Del Boy to tire. I didn't see that one. This was a good one, actually. One of our new friends on Twitter. This is quite the character, JP, nominated by Brian King again. He's at MMA and Celtic on Twitter. He should stick to talking about those two things. He said, Roy Jones wouldn't have beaten Steve Collins at their peaks, in my opinion. But to see both of you together with Tyson Fury, it's like patching the torch, big man. He also then went on to basically call Mike McCallum a has-been, whose biggest win was Collins, and basically said he did nothing else again after that.
Seen that comment. What the fuck? Collins would beat Jones in his prime. What parallel universe are we talking about here? I mean, what planet is he on? Because that whatever planet he's on, that's what planet that fight is not happening on. You
took issue with this one, Rob, as well, didn't you?
No, listen, if people in Ireland believe that, like, they believe that after that Eubank win, which was shady enough, like, you know what I mean? They believe that Steve Collins could have beaten Roy Jones. But, you know what I mean? Over here we have people that thought Conor McGregor was going to beat Floyd Mayweather, so, you know what I mean? Take it with a pinch of salt sometimes, but yeah, a joke, an absolute joke. He wouldn't have touched him. He would have got battered by Roy Jones. That version of Roy Jones against Steve Collins, who couldn't beat Reggie Johnson or Mike McCallum, is going to beat Roy Jones. Come on.
And he went to write off Mike McCallum's career as well, saying that was the only thing he ever did was beat Collins.
Clearly telling he's never known boxing, because anyone who knows boxing would know that Mike McCallum is a legend off the bat. So he's clearly a disgrace, this guy. So yeah, he's my winner anyway before we even get to the votes. That's a joke.
Oh, can you imagine if Mike McCallum was about in today's game, by the way, how hard it would be for him to get fights?
Yeah, because no one want to fight him.
I mean, fucking Durant didn't even want to fight him.
No, he was a legend. That McCallum, his style and everything, and just how tough he was and everything. Like, and he beat Collins easy. Like, he beat Collins easy.
It's insane.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, well said. Rob's got his winner as well, MMA and Celtic JP. He's going to be hard to beat, I think. Tom Craze was talking about who was the last Eastern European KO artist I remember headlining a card in Monaco was a certain Gennady Golovkin, and he turned out all right. Marcos Valdez jumped in and said, KO artist? I can't remember any single magnificent KOs by Triple G. I guess it's part of how overrated he is. Brian King nominated Marcos Valdez.
He was in the fucking draw quick there.
Must have been. Tony Bellew, doesn't matter if Derek Chisora hasn't performed his best. He's always in exciting fights. Rematch anyone against Caballel? Thought it was a good scrap. And Erislan Lara jumped in. Not the proper one, I wouldn't have thought. He said Tony Bellew has obviously never watched the Chisora versus Avila fight. It was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. I will echo that. It was a terrible, terrible fight. Charles Hans Lindner has nominated Paul Williams for talking about Conor Benn. Your most impressive performance was the recent one, Conor. Love the way you carried yourself in the fight. Forget your dad. You could be better than him. A few people nominated this one to me. I actually noticed it myself on the night. Rory McGonigal sent it in as well. Whenever Deontay Wilder won, the graphics people put up Stiverne and his new record, apparently, for winning the title. I think they got that one a little bit mixed up. This was a nomination for Gabe, actually, who's not on the call tonight. He was talking a bit of smack beforehand in the chat. I wouldn't usually bring things out the chat, but I thought this was quite funny, and I'm sure Gabe won't mind. He said, "You two will be bowing to the real guru after tonight. I have analysed some tape," says Gabe. Stiverne wasn't 100% the first time and will be tonight. He's got more guts than Wilder. Wilder is trying to be a personality. He has real power, but Bermain will selectively come forward, and I'm expecting a big counter left hook to be the difference that sends Wilder out of there.
I tell you what, I've had some run. See, back in the forum days, I used to have some run-ins with Gabe actually about certain fighters and fights, and that. Honestly, we used to go back and forth all the time. Fucking hell.
The Texas Tornado talking some smack there. Robert Blundell.
He would have been on the night, but the clan meeting overran a wee bit. Sorry, troops.
Oh, yeah, he's away with the clan. Robert Blundell has nominated Foz for saying that Billy Joe Saunders was an Olympic gold medalist on Mersey Radio. And Brian King has nominated John Dennon. John Dennon says Wilder has been a bit harsh about Dillian White. Isn't White better than, like, anyone Wilder's ever fought? You know what? I wouldn't say John Dennon was too far off there, to be honest with you. Wilder has fought some shit, like.
I think what he was trying...
Stiverne's better than White, though.
Yeah, he is.
See, I was kind of taking for that tweet is he was kind of like backing up Wilder to fight White.
Yeah, that's where the Bellew comes from. Yeah,
I'm like, no fucking chance.
Fair enough. And also, finally, last but by no means least, this is the good one from Cornelius Bundridge. Box Hard podcast was talking about Anthony Joshua and Wilder's resume. He said, "I can only base who is better," says Box Hard, "on who's beaten the better boxers, regardless of how they win. It's just who they beat." And he said Klitschko and is a better opponent. I'm making a bit of a meal of this because I'm trying to read the back and forward tweets. But anyway, Cornelius Bundridge said, "Just because Wilder knocked Stiverne out, don't mean he was a bum. He's a former world champion and better than both guys that you mentioned. Fact. One of the guys he'd mentioned is Klitschko." So basically, Bundridge is trying to say that Stiverne is a better boxer than Vladimir Klitschko. And for that, he gets nominated for Bellew of the Week. Right. Any other nominations?
I've not got anything, mate.
Nothing from Andy. Dave, Ozzy, Rob, anyone you want to throw in?
Did you guys do Jim Gray?
No, go ahead.
Oh, it was a belter.
So, I think Wilder said, "First thing you got to do is give credit to Stiverne." And Jim Gray says, "For what?" It's great. Fell over in a round. It was great, but
I actually like him. He reminds me a bit like is it Gary? No, Gary Newborn. What's the guy? Other guy on ITV?
Gary
reminds me of Larry Merchant, American Life.
What was that name again, Steve?
Gary Richardson.
No.
His YouTube compilation is worth a watch, like the best Jim Gray moments. Like he had Tyson straight after Holyfield biting the air biting. Why did you do that, Mike? I got kids, man. Look at me. You know what I mean? But why did you bite him, Mike? You know, and B Hop, he had a great run in with B Hop one time. He's just a legend. I love Jim Gray.
I quite like him. He's not afraid to have a go, is he, Rob, and say things? Yeah.
Was I think
that's what we're all thinking, doesn't he? He's the one guy, like, because Max is going to come in and just massage them, like with Jim Gray straight to the point, like. When he said to Gene Pascal, he's like, "I think I won the fight against B Hop." He was like, "How?"
Tony against Holyfield, actually, was like he had no chance there, like because Tony just went off and won.
That was brilliant. Tony, don't walk up on me, dog. Don't walk up on me, dog. I don't like you. Speaking of dogs.
Oh no, Joe back at the door, is he?
Yes, it's just.
Go on, Dave.
That's it. Just that one for me. I didn't follow much boxing this week. What can I say? The UFC card was 10 times anything that boxing was offering this week.
Oh, thanks for that, Dave. Ozzy, any nominations?
Just the one, and it's from @1993_M Jones. Klitschko is not one knockout puncher, so don't even go there. He's only got 21 KOs. I don't mean TKOs, where the opponent hasn't thrown back. I mean knock him out flat. He cannot punch.
Oh my God. Where do we find these? Who are you going for, Ozzy?
The guy who slated Mike McCallum.
Oh, that's JP. Yeah, that's two. One from Rob and one from you as well. It could be JP at MMA and Celtic here. Dave, who are you going for?
Not JP, but AB. That Duran thinks he would fuck up Duran. I mean, I don't even know if he actually believes that himself, but fuck him for saying it.
Yeah, well said. What about you, Andy?
AB, baby.
Oh, two for AB. I'm going to have the deciding vote, and I'm afraid I'm a Mike McCallum fan, so I just cannot stand for what JP said. I did try to challenge him, and he said, "Who do you think you are, the expert?" But I told him he should stick to MMA rather than boxing. So it's JP for me. I'm going for him. Congratulations, big man. You are the Bellew of the week. Right, nothing else. We shall get out of here. Before we do, don't forget, I haven't asked for a while for if you're on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as they call it these days, go and leave a rating and review. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable for the whole month of November. And also, Andy, what's coming up on the Patreon over the next month or so?
Punches from the past will be making a return again. I don't know, when's that dropping? Next episode?
The next episode will drop next week.
Next week. So if you've not your bills paid, I mean, we've got 40 patrons just now. If you've not paid, or if you've got your card on it, don't be a welcher. It's only $5 we're asking for. You know, how many? Was it 6 people welched on the payments and stuff?
It's now only one.
Now only one. There we go. So all our followers have got paid up to date. So you got to be there. You got to listen to it. You got to pay your money to do it. Otherwise, you won't even listen to it. So
yeah,
no way to do it.
Coming over the next few weeks, we've got Trinidad and Hopkins punches from the past. We've got a Paul Ingle special coming up as well. I was on with one of the Patreon listeners, Christopher Ansell, who also listens to the pod, and a James Toney special as well. I've done a couple already from Matthew Saad Mohammed and Riddick Bowe, and James Toney will be dropping at the end of the month. So if you like that, then join us. Any other business, guys, or should we get out of here?
How's Bill?
Yep, let's go. Thank you, everybody who's joined us. Rob Kelly, Ozzy Smith, Andy Patterson, Dave the Hater Lowback, Tommy the Guru Allen was supposed to be here, didn't show. Smido's quit. Donnie was on. Kurt's quit. John Ryder was on. I think that's everybody, isn't it? I haven't heard from Gabe. We'll catch you all next week. Thanks for joining us. Cheerio. Bye.
See you, lads.
See you guys. Thanks.